As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Friday, September 13th, and boys, it is the last show before we cover the Lions. That's for sure, because Sunday we'll be live all day covering the Detroit Lions. We're going to break a lot of that down today, talk some football, give some injury updates, talk a little college football. You got Arizona, Kansas State starting a little bit. Sprinkle a per Boone helping me out here on the over. Just a little unit or two.
Hey, get your money up for this weekend. That's all it is.
But boys, Lions versus Bucks this weekend, and
Yes,
you know
sir.
what? I just want to get right into it. All right, because I've been eager to get to this. All right, I just want to get right into it. I see that injury report.
Brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, I
tell you
did.
what. I hate this.
Hey,
I don't like it
the
either.
injury report. Not sure if I liked it. You see here, Lions put out injury report presented by Henry Ford.
Oh.
Iffy Melifonwu, ankle out. Isaiah Williams, abdomen out. Marcus Davenport,
Not what I want to hear.
doubtful. And then Kirby Joseph, hamstring, questionable. Penei Sewell, ankle, questionable. Jameson Williams, ankle, questionable. Okay, so we have two guys confirmed out.
Yeah.
Out of the three guys that are questionable, I think they will probably play. Penei, I'm a little worried about. Not gonna lie. Hope he plays, really, because of this front seven.
For sure.
But Marcus Davenport, I mean, it's just, guys, this is someone that was brought in, and we all acknowledged that the player has talent.
Mhm.
He has talent. When he's healthy, his ability to be just a pure power rusher and just legit just make his presence known with his physicality, his size, his strength. Like, that stuff we understand with Marcus Davenport, okay? He when healthy, he's got talent. But what did I say when the Lions signed him? My biggest concern, and not just me, but you guys, we all talked about this. The dude just can't stay healthy. And it's week one. I know he's been nursing some things from the offseason, which should be probably a red flag within its own right. But then he comes out week one, has half a sack, makes his presence known. You see it, you look at him, you go, wow, this guy can play football. He's pretty good. All right. Maybe, this Lions defensive line with Davenport can be pretty good. You got John Macaroon, aka the Doc, talking about trade James Houston. I mean, Davenport's good.
I mean,
And then the same week, boop, get notification, check it. Marcus Davenport, he's chilling on the injury report. And he's doubtful to be there for week 2. Like, guys, I'm sorry, and I'm staying put with what I believe in, which is the Lions. If this Davenport thing goes south, you're going to have to trade for an edge at the deadline. Like, this is no longer next year we'll address it. This is right now. And I have a segment which I'll get into about 8:30. And I think it's the second hour. I really will save it for. But I'll break down the importance of this game. But you're in the thick of it. Number 1 seed. You want to win a Super Bowl. Everything's the stakes have risen, fellas. Like, Davenport, he ain't looking like he can't stay healthy. That's very, very concerning, because if he's out, James Houston, they've shown they don't trust right now, even though he's got some talent. And he can't defend the run, but he's got some talent. And Levi Onwuzurike, I think he's better suited inside. Josh Pascal, I'm sorry, even I, the biggest Josh Pascal believer, I don't even know what they got left in Josh Pascal, if I'm being honest with you. Okay? And then Mekhi Wingo's a rookie. I don't expect him to line up at edge and make an impact. So I am. Jeff, are you concerned? Absolutely, I'm fucking concerned. Where are you guys? Where are you guys at with this edge thing with Davenport? Because this thing, I'm worried.
Jeff, you couldn't have said it any better. Like, this is bad. Like, this is not good. And you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to be honest with I love being transparent and honest with the people, Jeff, just like you are. Klotz, Lukas Klotz, 100% right. I don't think any of the problems, we've had these arguments a million times about the edge position, and we being like, no, Marcus Davenport can help out this team. He can help out this team. He's going to be a big piece on this football team. Klotz kept saying, hey, guys, he might be able to play football. Guy gets injured every day. He's injured every week. The man just fights injuries. Like, he has more injuries on his NFL timeline than he has total sacks in his career. It's unbelievable. Like, it's nuts. He might be watching tonight. Marcus Davenport might. Who knows? But I said it from the jump, and I'm going to be very consistent about it. You win a Super Bowl through your defense. Your offense can be number one in the NFL. The Dolphins had a number one offense in the NFL last year. You need to play defense. Like, you need to get to the quarterback. Jeff, you brought the stat up earlier in the offseason about getting to a certain amount of sacks to be able to win a Super Bowl. And every Super Bowl win in the last 10 years was, I think it was like top 5 in sacks or something like that, whatever the stat was. You need to get to the quarterback. Marcus Davenport, you can't go all season where he plays a game. Oh, he's injured a couple weeks. He plays a game. Oh, he's injured. You have to have consistency. Like, you have to. That's why Levi O for so long was so bad. The man was just always injured, and he couldn't play full football. Like, it's good if we get a half a sack out of Marcus Davenport in a week. I'll take that every week. But stay healthy. Like, what are we? Like, it's unbelievable to me that he's already on and doubtful. I think he has like a 10% chance of playing. Like, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but it's not good. Like, when you're doubtful, you're essentially basically out. It's just giving the other team, like, hey, we're playing little chess, not checkers here with you. That's like what it is. So, like, this edge group has to get it figured out. At this point, I'm still so far out on trading James Houston because you need him. Like, if you don't have anyone outside of Marcus Davenport, you need James Houston. You might need, and I'm out. I said I was out on Hassan Reddick. Like, you need to go get someone at this point. Like, if you feel like Marcus Davenport consistently won't be healthy, if you get to a playoff run and Marcus Davenport is out for 3 playoff games just for a nick or like just a bruise or something, like, we cannot have that. You can't afford that. You can't. You have to have a stout defensive line, especially when it comes to the playoffs. If you're in the Super Bowl for Patrick Mahomes and you're just going to let him run anywhere he wants and pass all over you, you're not going to win a Super Bowl like that. So I'm not saying Marcus Davenport is the key to winning a Super Bowl, but this pass rush is and this defense is. So they better get this thing figured out. Marcus Davenport better start being healthy. I'm not going through this every single week, or go find someone else who's going to, and you can at least rotate so he can stay healthy. But he can't go out there and play that many snaps if he's going to get hurt. Like, we need to find a way to keep this guy healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. Marcus Davenport's a great athlete, huge athlete, but his body is just as soft as Charmin. There's no way that he's able to stay healthy continuously through a season. And it sucks to see, especially because this Detroit Lions team, they need him. Now, in my opinion, what's next? Marcus Davenport's hurt on rundown specifically, because I think in passing downs, you're semi-comfortable with James Houston being out there. That's when you got to talk about, like, Derek Barnes. He's going to have to be playing the edge a little bit more at that Sam spot. He's going to have to set an edge, get to the quarterback. Now, I do have faith that Derek Barnes can do that. Can he do it consistently without this defense having to overcompensate? I don't know. That's the question. So we're going to have to see how Aaron Glenn, this is where he's going to really make his money because, okay, your defensive end's down. That happens every year to most football teams in the NFL. How do you overcome that? You have James Houston. That's your weak point. You knew going into the season, defensive end is your weakness. There's going to be some injuries on the defensive line. The secondary, this linebacking core, they have to step up, and it starts with this week because I don't think we should overreact to this, especially like I'm the guy that's always complaining about Marcus Davenport being hurt. I think it's a little too early right now to act like, oh, the whole season he's hurt. I know that's not what you guys are doing. No. Maybe give it some time. They know that, okay, we just got a big NFC win against the Rams. We feel confident that we can do it without him. So let's have him against Tampa Bay. Let's have him healthy, healed up, so that way come bye week, if we need him to against Dallas and he's still not fully there, he'll be fully ready to go. So you look at the schedule they have after this at Arizona. And then, okay, do we really need Marcus Davenport for that game? No, probably not. So he probably can't play this week, but they're probably being safe with it. So later in the season, he's healthier. So I don't think it's panic button as far as, okay, you definitely need to go get another edge. Like, even if it's the starter depth, there's got to be somebody there. But as far as Marcus Davenport for the whole season, I'm not panicking just yet.
And the reason why we're talking about this is you have to, and I know people are like, oh, you guys are overreacting or you're freaking out. Groin injuries, and I'm not a doctor, and I don't know the severity of Marcus
Jeff
Davenport.
Iafrate.
I'm not going to act like I know the severity of the injury or what the recovery time is or anything like that. This could be one game. My point is, this is who Davenport is. You're going to have to accept it. He's going to be banged up. That's how the, typically you look at history when you want to dictate trends. History with Davenport tells you he's going to be hurt. Like, if you just sit there and be like, oh no, he'll be healthy the whole entire season, we're good. I would like to know the evidence you have to have that argument. There's nothing. There's literally nothing to suggest he will be healthy for the entire season. So in that case, trying to plan ahead and be like, okay, they need more depth. If James Houston hasn't proved to be a guy that they're confident in, to me, yeah, that is something to look at. Because the biggest thing we've talked about is this defensive line. DJ Reader is going to make such a big impact. But the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, to me, is not 100% solved if Davenport can't be healthy. That's the thing. Nothing to do with talent. Now, if this is a couple-week thing and he's back, great. He plays the rest of the year, great. You want him to play 20 games or at least be there on the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th game, ideally. But this is a guy that you really need in the playoffs. I mean, you just do. If they had Davenport against the 49ers last year and he was healthy, he would have definitely made an impact. So, again, you guys are overreacting. No, we're having conversations that could come back around in about a month or two. We're trying to have these conversations. And I'll even say, like Brad Holmes, he is, dude, one of the best GMs in the National Football League. You could even make an argument he is up there, top two, not two, whatever it is. But Brad does have a little bit of that, and everyone has it. I'm victim to it. I'd like to see the good in people, the best in people. And I get in trouble doing that sometimes. You look at someone and you're like, man, I just see this person at their best. But the problem is you have to be realistic with some things, right? Like Davenport's a great player. Everyone knows that. Dan Campbell's complimented him and Brad Holmes. But you got to be like, well, he hasn't really stayed healthy. So we have to figure out, like, just in case he's out, especially, let's say, worst case scenario at one point for the year, you got to have a plan. And if it's James Houston as his stock is right now, I'm sorry, you guys can be confident. I think Houston's fine as like a depth piece, but if you're counting on him, to me, that's cause for concern. So it's worth the conversation. I don't believe you got like people, and I see it in the chat. I get it. You guys are overreacting. I don't think so. And I'm not saying this is a season-ending injury. No one's saying that. But it's worth the conversation to at least have it, fellas.
I want to – yeah, and I want to bring up – and first of all, too, one thing I've learned about this business that we're in is when you hold guys to high expectations in whether it's Brad Holmes or Marcus Davenport and different guys, when you hold guys to high expectations, you're a hater. Like especially, like in Detroit, it's been such – I've been the slappy in Detroit, but when you do kind of give a little bit of pushback, it's, oh, you're overreacting. It's hate. Like, it's, to me, at the end of the day, Jeff, I think you've said it perfectly. The depth on this defensive line, like once you get past Davenport, like James Houston wasn't even active. And then, okay, you have Josh Pascal, who essentially didn't really play last week, and you didn't get anything out of him. You have Levi O, who you can put out there, but then that messes up your rotation inside as well. Like, it's just you don't really have as much edge depth as you maybe look around the NFL, especially with other contending teams, that contending teams have edge depth. Like for me, a little bit more, like, how you guys, we spoke about the wide receiver depth, and then we looked around the NFL and the contending teams, and you're like, well, most of these contending teams only have 2 or 3 guys anyways. And then after that, there's really guys who don't. But like, if you look at D-line depth, like there are teams out there with deep edge rooms and edge rushers that can help you if a guy goes down. And if Davenport, not even just for the year, Jeff, knock on wood, if it goes down for this injury he has, his groin stretches 2 or 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. Like, Klotz, I love your point. I get it about the long term. Like, hey, maybe we just need him healthy at the end of the year. Like, guys, you're playing an NFC opponent and you're going for a number 1 seed. Like, this is a team that potentially could win their division and is going to be in those 1 to 4 seeds and try and go out there and win 10 to 13 games and contend in seeding. Like, you have to win these football games. It's not like we're not at the point anymore where it's like, hey, just wait till the end of the year. We'll win the division and just hope for the best. Like, no, every single game matters because the 49ers won. The 49ers are going to probably win this week, and they're going to be sitting at 2-0, and you can't drop this game because you let Baker Mayfield cut you up. And I'm not saying, again, Davenport's going to be the one to make or break that, But it's just like the edge depth, and you're going to get into a game this year where you're going to need to get after the quarterback, and you're going to need that edge depth. And if Davenport, it's not on Davenport. It's, hey, who's behind Davenport that can step up? Can James Houston step up and do it? Do we maybe, hey, I was big on him in the preseason. Can Isaac Ukwu come in and step up and do it? Like, I don't know, but I'm personally, when the trade deadline does come around, as Patrick said there, I'm fine with going out and spending some capital and some assets to go get someone to bring in so you can build up this defensive line. That's probably the last position group, in my opinion, on this football team that maybe has a little hole, is when a guy like Marcus Davenport's out, you're like, all right, where's that rotation? Where's that depth at? And that's where it's like, all right, we need to get that depth. And I would not mind at all if they brought someone in. I think that would help this football team out drastically.
You know what, Boone, I'll even add too, like, credit to Brad for giving Marcus a 1-year deal, because you're not married to him. You know, if anything, he just walks and again, we're more just having the convo for the chance that this goes south down the line. Like, could he be back in a week? Absolutely. And then we'll be talking about Davenport against the Arizona Cardinals, and he's playing. So, like, I'm not saying, oh God, he's out for the year. All I'm saying is, oh gosh, week 2, he's got a groin injury. Like, let's just start having this conversation. What if there's more to come? You know, you just don't know with Davenport. History has shown there's going to be more. They got Isaac Ukwu on the practice squad. You know, I like Isaac. I don't know if that's a guy you want starting on the other side of Aiden for a team you want to win a Super Bowl. But there will be guys this trade deadline, probably vets. I'm not even asking. You don't have to go get like this premier edge you pay 2 first for. All I'm saying is get someone that, you know, hey, in case someone goes down, you got someone, you know, and I don't know. We'll see how this thing trends with Davenport. I mean, that's really why we're talking about it. But, hey, I want to get in the matchup, more into the game. Detroit Lions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, at least what you guys expect. And I'll ask the question because I kind of have an answer, and I've been talking about it all week. What do the Lions have to do in order to leave Sunday with a victory? And to me, it's 2 things, one on offense, one on defense. I'll start offensively. The key for me offensively this week is this secondary for the Bucs drastically banged up. Antoine Winfield Jr. hurt. They have some corners hurt. That defensive line, pretty good. Or at least I'll say front 7. I'll group them all. Count Levante David, even at his age. Front 7, solid. The back end for the Bucs, hurt. Lions passing offense, looking to get back on track. This week, Jared Goff taking care of the football. That is important. But number 2, guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams, this passing attack, this week they're going to be leaned on, in my opinion. The run game is always going to be leaned on to some degree because they're heavy play action. You want to establish the run. I get that. But how the Lions have had success against the Bucs, the last 2 matchups they faced offensively, is Jared Goff zipping the football, taking care of it, Amon-Ra making plays, J-Mo comes in with a big play, and Sam Laporta. That's the recipe this week, is what does that passing attack look like? Are they efficient? You know, are they moving the football with, I don't want to say with ease, but not struggling to move the football now with, I would say, the best safety out this week in football probably. That's what it is offensively. All right, I'm not going to say run the football, Jameer and David combined for 200 rushing yards. No, I think it's going to be the opposite. I think Jared Goff, big week this week. I think Jared could easily have 250, 275 passing yards and a couple TDs. I think Jared's going to be leaned on more this week. Now, defensively, fellas, I'll say it's got to come down. I know we just talked about Davenport. It's got to come down to that defensive line, man. Like, it's that simple. And I know that's why we probably talked about Davenport so heavily in the beginning of the show, because DJ Reader's back. That interior of that Bucs offensive line can be taken advantage of. What do the Lions do? Right? What does Aiden look like? Can he continue that Defensive Player of the Year candidate? I think he can this week because DJ Reader is going to make those guys' jobs a lot easier. And Aleem McNeil, I'm sorry, and I love him. He's got to show up this week. I want to see Aleem McNeil living in that damn backfield. That's what I want to see out of Aleem McNeil. I want to look at the TV and see Aleem McNeil smelling the cologne on Baker Mayfield. That's what I want to see. I want to see that most plays. So I think this defensive line is not even I would want them. They have to show up on Sunday in the pass rush. Absolutely be menaces.
Love that.
Because Baker's going to step back, and they're not going to be able to run the ball. All right, Lions run defense is stout. They're great. It happens every time the Bucs face the Lions. They struggle to run the football, and Baker's just going to air it out to Mike Evans. Now, how do you make those guys' job a lot easier? You're not letting these plays develop, and you're getting to Baker Mayfield. So the pass rush is going to be super key on defense and offense. Jared Goff taking care of the football in this passing attack, getting back to what we know it is, which is efficient and big plays constantly. They're going to have to do both those things. I think if they do it, they could win this game by 10 points, 14 points. Like, they can win this thing decisively.
They should. I've got two things as well. And actually, Jeff, surprising enough, I've got two different things than you, one on each side of the ball as well. And on offense, I'm going to go the opposite of what you said. The pass game. I listened to Dan Campbell talk this morning, and he spoke right to me. He said, "Booner, this is for you." Because
what'd he say?
You guys told me this on Monday morning after the Lions victory. You guys said, "Booner, they're going to establish the run a lot more this year. They're going to go to the run game a lot more." And I said, "Yeah, okay, boys. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and J-Mo, and Jameer out of the – they're going to pass the ball." Guess what Dan Campbell said today? Last season versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Lions had 40 total rushing yards during the regular season, the 20-6 win. And in the playoffs, they had 114 total rushing yards. The identity of this offense starts in the backfield with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Dan Campbell said this morning, he said, one thing I'm going to do this week, and maybe I don't know why he actually, now that I think about it, Dan, why are you giving away the game plan? But he said, we want to establish the run, and we're going to make sure we do that this week. He said the last two times we played them, we didn't establish it like we wanted to. Obviously, you had some injuries in running back in the first matchup, but even the second matchup, 114. You know, the Lions, I think this last weekend had like 160 something, maybe even more than that. So, like, I think what they need to do, at least in my mind, one of the biggest things to do, get David Montgomery going early. Let him and the offensive line get comfortable again, because you saw what happened in overtime last week. Like, it took until the fourth quarter for this offensive line to really get going. Klotz, when we were watching the game, I remember you saying a couple times, like, this offensive line has to get something rolling here. This is the best offensive line in the NFL. Like, they look a little – they're slowing down right now. And then the fourth quarter and overtime came around, and this offensive line dominated. They flipped the switch, and they took over. They need to do that from the jump on Sunday. Give David Montgomery the ball. Let the offensive line go dominate. They got a feel for the season. They're not rusty anymore. And get Jahmyr Gibbs the ball out in space and let him make plays. Establish the run with those two. And I promise you, no matter even what happens with Jared Goff in the run game, you win this football game by multiple scores. I guarantee you, if you control the clock and run the ball with those two, you will win this game by multiple scores. Now, to the real stuff here, boys. The other side of the ball, defensively. The secondary. I think it comes down. You are going up against an absolute. I think like these three weapons they have are some of the best in the league. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rachaad White in the pass game. These guys put numbers up in the pass game. They're touchdown threats. All of them are big play threats. All three of them are. This secondary slowly at times last week you saw more improvement from last season, but they still gave up plays, missed tackles. They were this close on multiple interceptions and takeaways. And obviously you want the defensive line to get going a little bit more. I want to see this secondary, guys. Jeff, I get the pass rush because that was what I thought of. And then I'm like, I just want to see that like Terrion take another step this week. I want to see Carlton take another step this week. The safeties. Like, I just want these guys to slowly grow and get better. And I think versus Baker Mayfield offense, which he's a great quarterback, but versus Baker Mayfield offense with those three weapons, it's a perfect time to go out there, get more reps, improve, go get takeaways. You guys know how I feel about turnovers. I love turnovers. Go make those plays. Those two interceptions you dropped last week, make them back this week. Make it up. Like, go out there and make plays and slow down. Like, they should set a goal, like hold Baker Mayfield under 200 yards passing, and do not let him get over that. Like, they should have a goal like that. Slowly improve this secondary, because I think once you get this secondary rolling, guys, you have the pass rush, you have the rush defense. That's the final piece of this defense, and it's a scary defense once those guys get going.
Yeah, I think all you guys are preaching. I think I'm not going to go with two for each. I got one offensively because I think it opens up everything else, and then two defensively. Hold on, am I blurry, boys? My camera going blurry when I'm like this?
You're good.
You look beautiful, Klotzy.
I'll start with the defensive side because I got two of them. Number one, there's a boy over there in Tampa. His first year, Stop Bucky Irving. Okay, it sounds stupid. You might laugh at it, but if you look what Bucky Irving was for this team last week, he was a chain mover. He had 9 carries for 61 yards. There's about 7 yards a carry. There's Chris Godwin. There's Mike Evans. There's Rachaad White out of the backfield. He ate up out of the passing game last week as well. But if there's going to be somebody who runs on the Detroit Lions, it's going to be Bucky Irving. He's a young, explosive running back, and I think he's a better in-between-the-tackles running back than Rachaad White. And Rachaad White in the playoff game against the Lions, everybody's like, oh, he's not going to do anything. Rachaad White had a couple of big runs that made that game very interesting. Stop Bucky Irving. You stop this rushing attack. And with that, you make Baker Mayfield use his arm and not his head. Baker Mayfield, I think, is a good quarterback. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's in that tier where he's just under Jared Goff. He's kind of like a top 12 to 17 quarterback. Where you want to rank him in there, that's fine. But he's got great weapons around him. If you make Baker Mayfield roll out of the pocket, try to play like Patrick Mahomes, that's how you beat Baker Mayfield. If you let Baker Mayfield sit in the pocket, identify Mike Evans. Oh, he's one-on-one. Let me just throw a jump ball to him, because if you throw a jump ball to Mike Evans, he's coming down with it. It's just simple math. Mike Evans will drop the ones where he's wide open for a touchdown, but he'll make all the difficult catches in the world. So if you make Baker Mayfield use his arm and not his mind, that's the Detroit Lions win, and I think you do that by what these boys were preaching on defensively. Just put them under pressure. The interior of this offensive line for Tampa Bay is extremely weak, and you could argue that's the strength of this Detroit Lions defensive front. Offensively now, get Amon-Ra St. Brown going. We see all the injuries they have in the secondary. You see how many tackles that Amon-Ra St. Brown can miss and create yardage after that. If Amon-Ra St. Brown's get going like he did against Tampa Bay last year in the regular season, there's nothing they can do. Because if you get Amon-Ra St. Brown going, they're going to have to put all their focus on him. Sam Laporta, he's another that can do that. The Los Angeles Rams last week tried to stop the middle of the field. They clogged it completely. That's why you didn't see Sam Laporta or Amon-Ra St. Brown get going. But I think at some point, Ben Johnson just has to find a way to get those guys going in the middle of the field, because that opens everything up. If Amon-Ra St. Brown gets over 90 yards, 8 catches, but most importantly gets in the end zone, the Detroit Lions will win this game. So Amon-Ra St. Brown going, stop Bucky Irving, and make Baker Mayfield use his arm and not his mind. That's my 3 keys.
I love it. I honestly, I'll even add to offensively. And the reason why I think the passing attack will be leaned on is I think Todd Bowles, in based on the matchups the Lions have had with the Bucs, Todd Bowles is, especially with the injuries in the secondary, guess what he's going to want to do? He's going to want to blitz. Find creative ways to send the house. And whether it's strong side, weak side, Jared Goff's dude is so smart. He's going to be able to kind of read those things ahead of time. That's why I hope Penei Sewell can play, because he'll help for sure, especially if they're sending, got corners and in the slot, and they're just finding ways, Todd is, to just make Jared's job a lot harder. I think there'll be opportunities, just like there were with Jamison Williams, for a big play in Tampa. There's going to be some shot plays that are going to be open, and I think that's why J-Mo could be a key this week, even if it's getting rid of the ball to Amon-Ra and it's yards after catch. But I do think that this defense, the Bucs defense, they're looking at it like, hey, we got our secondary. Our secondary's hurt. One of the best safeties in football is out. We got to just blitz. We got to find ways to get after Jared here. We have to. That's going to be their game plan, I think, to try and come out with a victory. And I think the Lions' response to that would be, hey, get the football out quickly, and maybe they get some big plays that open up. That's why. And I saw someone in the chat put, and I didn't even know this before I made the point. Burning issues. Goff has averaged 383 yards per game against the Bucs in his career, most dominant in the league. So and last year, just Amon-Ra St. Brown alone, he has been an absolute just Tampa Bay Buccaneers breaker. He's and I just looked at his stats. He had 124 games or yards in the first game and 70 something in the second. He averaged between the 2 games. He averaged 100 yards, 10 catches per game, and a touchdown. He scored a touchdown in each game. He had 12 catches in one and 8 in the other. He's dominated versus the Bucs, and he's gone out there and done that. Now you add into that, and I know, I'll give all the credit in the world. Todd Bowles is probably one of the better defensive minds in the NFL. Absolutely. And he puts together game plans, and he makes sure no matter what, it's one of those things with the Bucs, even if he's playing the best team in the Chiefs or the worst team in the Panthers, he will have a game plan ready to go to keep his team in the game no matter what when it comes defensively. I think he's going to have an opportunity tomorrow to do that, to be able, or not tomorrow, Sunday. But I do think Ben Johnson, in his mind, Ben's going to have this thing ready to go. And Ben mentioned yesterday, they asked him, how weren't you able to get Amon-Ra involved? He's like, listen, they played a zone. J-Mo and Amon-Ra essentially were in the same situation, except they just took Amon-Ra out of the game. There was nothing we could do about it. We could have ran anything for Amon-Ra, and they were just
shadowing and putting someone else on Amon-Ra the whole game. I think after that last week, Todd Bowles is looking at it and he's like, all right, we were going to do that with St. Brown. We can't do that now because they're just going to win no matter what with JMO. So like after week 1, JMO going off, it's what do you do at that point? Because if you do bring everyone over to St. Brown, JMO's just going to cook you the whole time. Now you have to even it out. And now I think this is that week. I know week 1 felt a little slow. This is that week where you're going to see like really take off and Ben Johnson really get in his bag, because now the NFL knows about Jameson Williams on that sort of level. And like now you have the weapons and hey, we've said it all offseason. They can't guard everyone. You cannot guard everyone on that offense.
Well, I think this game, for a lot of reasons, I know you mentioned the Todd Bowles point, but more so outside of the game, like in terms of win or loss, this game is very important. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about and kind of get your thoughts on, because today I was doing some research looking at teams that started 1-1 and kind of their chances, because we're not talking about making the playoffs. We're talking about Super Bowl teams. So what I did today is I went back to 2017, 2018, looked at all the Super Bowl matchups, and picked apart teams in the Super Bowl that started 1-1 or 1-2, and tried to see like, okay, are these teams that are starting out, some teams come on a run and come out and they're, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, and some teams don't. And I thought, well, what are the implications of this game if they don't win? Not that they won't, but here's the data that I discovered today, fellas. I went back to 2017, 2018, and this is what I got. You see NFL teams that started 1-1 or 1-2 and made the Super Bowl since the 2017 season. Now the teams highlighted won the Super Bowl. Okay, the team that isn't highlighted, the 2021-2022 Cincinnati Bengals, they did not win the Super Bowl. That's the only team. And now I didn't go through every year, just the teams that started 1-1 or 1-2. Obviously, I don't have on this list the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl, because they both were freaking great that year. And I think there's one more on here that I didn't get. I think it was 22. That was there's one more team I didn't get. But regardless, these are the examples since 2017. Now, you start with the first one, 2017, 2018 Philadelphia Eagles. They started 1-1, won their division. Now, Nick Foles essentially beat Tom Brady. So there's the kicker in that example. Now, 2018, 2019 New England Patriots started 1-2, won their division, and won the Super Bowl. They have Tom Brady. So, that's Tom Brady, the GOAT. 2020, 2021 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they started 1-1. If you guys remember, they got blown out by the Saints. And they were, I think it was 0-1 to start the year. Or they were 1-1, one loss to the Saints. They lost their division to the Saints, but still won the Super Bowl. So that's and again, who's quarterbacking that team? Tom freaking Brady. Okay. So and then you go through and look at the next year, the following season, because I do this. This is back to back. Cincinnati Bengals 1-1. They lose the Super Bowl, but they won their division to the Los Angeles Rams, who had a great year. They were great from start to finish with Matthew Stafford and the Rams. That was the super team, but they were close. And then this past season, 2023-2024 Kansas City Chiefs 1-1. They won the division and won the Super Bowl, and that was the 11-6 down year for the Chiefs. So these are the teams since 2017 in the Super Bowl. Only teams that started 1-1 or 1-2. Okay, and the teams that aren't on this list didn't start 1-1, 1-2. They went on a 1, made the Super Bowl. So the point I'm making is this: the importance of this game is huge, because you see it on the list. I mean, the teams that start 1-1 or 1-2, if you don't have Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, or Nick Foles in this case, I guess.
Which was Carson Wentz MVP season too.
Yeah, but I'm saying to win the Super Bowl, I'm going to say that was an exception. Like, you're not going to say maybe a backup can come in and win you a Super Bowl. That doesn't happen. So let's just take the Eagles out of it. You basically, since 2017, it's been Mahomes or Tom Brady that when they start 1-1 or 1-2, they go on to win the Super Bowl or make the Super Bowl in this case. So, guys, what I'm saying is, this game, I know it's that's the Buccaneers. They and this is why the Davenport thing did stress me out a little bit, because the Lions, got to take care of business this week, number one. And number two, there's going to be some games here in the next couple of weeks that you can't just walk on and just be like, all right, Cardinals, just count it as a win. This game is important, fellas. It's the difference between going 2-0 and 1-1. And now looking at their division, the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love being hurt, yeah, that helps. But this game's important, boys. Like, if you're fall to 1-1, unless you got Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes 1-2 of quarterback history, it's tough. So that's why I did this research. Like, it just brings more context to how important this game is, even though it's week 2. Like, they got to get off to a run here, especially if you have number 1 seed hopes and you want to win your own division, which I think they kind of got, I don't want to say in the bag, but Jordan Love, even he's questionable this week. He's going to be out a couple weeks. So I like the Lions' chances in the NFC North. But for the 1 seed purpose and to win the Super Bowl and make the Super Bowl, got to take care of business. What do you guys think of this this data here, the importance of not being 1-1, basically? Yeah,
the data is interesting too. I was looking at this a couple days ago, and I was trying to figure out, like, if they did go 1-1 or like essentially the same thing. And it was interesting to see some of the teams that started 1-1 and some of the teams that started 2-0 and went on to win a Super Bowl, because there is that stat that if you start like 0-2 in the season, the percentage of teams that have ever gone on to even make the playoffs is like extremely low. So I was interested to see like 1-2, 1-3, like what would happen. But I mean, even with those, Jeff, like every time I look at that sort of thing, I just think of every single NFC game, just like I said earlier in the show, and the importance of every single NFC game going forward. Even if you're playing, I mean, maybe not as much as the Cardinals, but any team that you know is going to be in the playoffs and going to be competing for seeding, like winning those games are the most important games this season, in my opinion. And like that's why as well, like Sunday, the 1 seed. I talk about the Booner path all the time, guys. The Booner path is talking about the path to the Super Bowl. Last year was the path to the NFC Championship game. Taking the path that is best, gives you the best odds to go win a Super Bowl, is playing every single game in the playoffs that you are able to in Ford Field. Right. And this starts, to me, it starts again, just like Dan said last week, the Rams. Rams are a playoff team. It's 1 week at a time. It starts on last Sunday. Guess what? We reset. I say, hey, let's look at it like this, guys. We're 0-0. We haven't played yet. Just go win Sunday. Go win Sunday. Because if it comes down to it, a tiebreaker, it's going to be the same thing for the Dallas game, the 49ers game. If it comes down to some sort of tiebreaker, you want to be above one of these teams. So I think like as you kind of keep getting better in this league, it's the same thing for the Chiefs. Like those games matter. And when it comes to the end of the season, these games matter. And in building the confidence, especially with the early bye week, I think it's after week 4, an early bye week. If you can get into this bye week 4-0, and get rested and get Davenport healthy, get some of these guys healthy, the confidence of this football team going into Dallas is going to be on a different level. So, like, yeah, the importance of this game, like, you don't want to drop this game. You're a 7-point favorite, 7.5-point favorite. It might be 8 by the time Sunday comes around. This is not a game to drop. As if you're a Super Bowl contender, you do not drop a game that you are a touchdown favorite. Who did it last year versus the Cardinals? Who was that?
Cowboys.
Yeah, and guess what are the Cowboys? They're frauds every year.
Yeah, Bengals
so don't be the Cowboys. Yes. Yeah. So if you are a Super Bowl contender, you don't do what the Cowboys did last year. You go out there, you take care of business in games you're supposed to take care of. You don't see the Chiefs dropping games as 8-point favorites. It doesn't happen. They're Super Bowl contenders. Same thing with even the Ravens. The Ravens don't. They take care of business. Like you go out there and take care of business, and it helps your season out. To where when you do have those big time games or you do drop a random game, it's not like you're dropping a game to go 9-8. Like, no, you have to win these must win, like these games. Or maybe not must win. That gets thrown around way too much. But these games where you are big time favorites. And Pennywise, I love you too. You're a beautiful.
I haven't seen Pennywise in a while.
I know. I kind of miss Pennywise.
You guys are spot on. The only thing I want to add on to your guys' points is not only is it important to win, but in the timing that you can win in. Because you look at the LA Rams, I think a lot of people, I know Jeff did, I don't think it's ignorant by any means whatsoever, thought the LA Rams could possibly win the NFC West. Well, who else is going to win the NFC West? Most likely the Rams, with the 49ers. And Christian McCaffrey was just put on IR. Trent Williams was dealing with injuries throughout that game, and yet they still have injuries that are on the back end and the defensive side as well. So there's some points where the 49ers right now, they're a little weaker than normal. The Packers, we all know what's going on there. So getting an NFC win The Eagles, they got the W against the Packers, but offensively there was definitely some struggles that they need to work through. Kellen Moore, good OC, Vic Fangio, great defensive coordinator. That team did take some time to gel, and I think Jalen Hurts still has some things to clean up. The Lions right now, if they win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's 2 playoff teams most likely that you're going to be able to beat in the NFC. So getting to that number 1 seed, the number 1 seed on the Booner path, the number 1 seed for the Detroit Lions Super Bowl, that's what you need to do, and you do it in games like this. So to your point, Booner, big like people want to say, oh, this is a must-win game. It's not that, but this is an incredibly important game in week 2 of the NFL season that can translate into the playoffs and playoff seeding down the road. So it's a very valuable game.
I will say, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's just looking at it. The first thing that came to my mind is, okay, 5 teams in total that made this 5 of the, there's more teams obviously, but 5 teams since 2017 that made the Super Bowl that started 1-1 or 1-2. It's Mahomes, Brady, Nick Foles. And Nick Foles, I would say, like, one of the biggest exceptions. Like, that is wild what he did. So, like, I would respectfully take him out of this. Brady, Mahomes. Like, those guys can afford to start slow. And because it's freaking Tom Brady, like, in Mahomes. Like, and we all accept that. Not that Jared's bad by any means. He's great. But he's not Brady. Or he's not Mahomes, like that's the point. So it's just the importance of not starting slow. Not that they will. Dan, last year, I mean, they start last year, fellas, like 7-1, 6-1, something like that. They have it. It's not like, oh, cause for concern. It's just the reality. Like, they have to take care of the Bucs, take care of the Cardinals, and preferably, you guys remember we talked about this 5-0 by the bye week.
Yeah,
that's like that's the preferred route. 4-1 at the worst at this point, given how the just the NFC looks in general. You want to go after that 1 seed. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, even and the thing I just think of instantly, because like you have to think the Lions, where did they start? 1-6 a couple years ago, and end of the season 8-2 or whatever that just unbelievable kind of turnaround was 2 seasons ago. Like, even all right, and I knock on wood, if the Lions drop a game in the next couple of weeks when it comes to before the bye, like Dan Campbell. Like, tell me you guys right now don't trust a guy like Dan Campbell to be like, hey, this is adversity. This is what it's about. Like, using a loss to learn for the future. Like, that's how I look at it, to where, like, hey, if it does go 1-1, it's not the end of the world. Like, I feel like Dan Campbell is one of those guys who's able to kind of reel it in and say, hey, like, you might not have the Patrick Mahomes and those, but you do have Dan Campbell who's able to be like, all right, hey, this is what it's about, boys. Like, this is adversity. This is grit. So, like, I do see that side of it if you are on the other side. I do think, though, it is big time to continue to show the league that you're a serious contender. I would rather, and I think a lot of people in the fan base would rather play bad and learn from those mistakes and still pull out a win, especially if you're fighting for a 1 seed and try and get that out of the way as early as possible and say, hey, just like the Rams game. Like, it was a brutal game. There were so many mistakes, and you're able to take those instead of having to learn from a loss. You're learning from a win, and you're taking a lot of things away from a win.
Yeah, and you mentioned the line. I checked at least BetUS, they're 8-point favorite, so it did increase on BetUS. I don't know what it is on other sports books, but we'll see how it moves. I mean, the Lions probably. No, go on.
Say it probably just moved because of the injuries from the Bucs. When they announced today that Kalijah Kancey was like up in the air all week. He didn't play last week, and he was like on injury reports. He wasn't practicing, and I remember watching their press conference, Todd Bowles, and he was like really quiet on it. He was like, yeah, we'll see how he is tomorrow. And it comes out like he's out, and that's like a big loss for them. They have I like their defensive line. Even without Kalijah Kancey, they still have like Yaya Diaby or whatever his name is. I like him. Vita Vea, like Frank Ragnow has an absolute like battle this week with Vita Vea. He's one of the best in the league at his position. So like I like their defensive line, and luckily for the Lions, Kalijah Kancey, shout out Adam, one of his favorite guys out of the draft that year. Like that's a big piece to lose. So I could see why
he was game wrecking in the playoffs too. I think he had 2 sacks. I could be wrong, but I believe he had 2 sacks in the playoff game. That's their Ali McNeil to the DJ Reader with Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey. So he's a guy that, especially in the run game too, like he had his nose in the pass and in the run game. So if he's out, that's huge for D-Mont and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Well, it's huge for Jared too, man, because because Vita Vea is like he's just the guy that just, he's so massive. Like, it's going to be hard to run on Vita Vea, but then Kalijah is like that pass rusher that if he's not there, maybe it fits my narrative a little bit. You're going to have time, a little more time. Not that they don't have anyone else.
And Ragnar won both matches. Yeah, Ragnar's the best center in the NFL. So it's just like compared to different weeks, you're going up against a Pro Bowler and you're going up against one of the better guys at that position. Those are like I enjoy those matchups, to be honest. Like when Hutch is ever going to be lined up against Tristan Wirfs, like, this is what it's about. Like, I'm pumped to see this matchup.
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, guys, at least with the secondary, I know you mentioned it a little earlier, Boone. I think the biggest matchup to me this week is Carlton Davis on Mike Evans. And I will say this, shout out Stephen J. He came on, talked about it from at least a Buccaneers, someone who's just thoroughly watched the Buccaneers over the last, more than a decade. Yep. And he said that Carlton Davis, he's not talked about as like a premier corner, but I think he's a good corner. And I do think in these types of matchups, this is a game where I think Carlton Davis against Mike Evans can make some plays. Not that he's going to shut out Mike Evans by any means, but I think it's going to be they'll have they'll have at least a better chance of slowing him down than the playoff game. They get 100 and something yards last year. I don't know. That was Cam Sutton. That was the Cam Sutton era. But Mike Evans got his way last year. I think Carlton's going to make it a little tough on him. And then you have Chris Godwin, who kind of lines up everywhere. I mean, he can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. So Amik Robertson, Terran Arnold. I think maybe you'll see some Trey Palmer and Terran Arnold action there with Trey on the outside. This secondary, man, and I know last week made some mistakes. He's a rookie. But
just keep learning.
They're going to be asked to do some work this week because I'm telling you, the Bucs, they're not going to be able to run the ball. Bucky Irving, I like it. He's actually had a great week last week, so that's someone you got to keep an eye out on. But this Lions run defense, very good. They're going to be throwing the football around the field, especially if they're playing from behind. Got to think about it like that too. The secondary, another chance for them fellas to prove that they're not last year's secondary, to continue to build on that. Even with Iffy out, I mean, Brian and Kirby are fine at safety. They'll be all right. And Amik played pretty well last week too.
I do want to break the Carlton Davis stuff, guys. I looked back after we talked to Stephen Che yesterday. I looked back in the day that we got Carlton Davis and made that trade. I had texted him and said, "Hey, like, what are your guys' thoughts in Tampa on Carlton Davis?" First thing he texted me back was he's a lockdown. If he's locked in, he's a top 10 corner in the league. And just like he said yesterday, he said he's very good, borderline excellent against big wide receivers. Mike Evans was a guy that gave you, like you said, Jeff, absolute problems last year. And it was like that. Do you remember that stretch of games where just wide receivers just absolutely dominated the Detroit Lions? And they were like big body wide receivers too. The Justin Jeffersons. I don't know if Christian was watching stat line versus the Lions, but like just big body wide receivers just dominating. Last week, it wasn't really more so Carlton Davis going up against a bigger wide receiver. It was Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But this week is that first week you're going to get that matchup to see like what Carlton Davis could bring to this Lions defense up against a guy like Mike Evans. I think this is a massive matchup for him because to his point, like Stephen Che's point, if he's locked in, he's top 10. And if you have a top 10 guy out there locking up Mike Evans, he's never had to go up against Mike Evans. But guess what? His whole career, he's got to see him at practice, and he knows his weaknesses. Yep. He knows how to get to him. I think there's an opportunity, and honestly, this might be – I don't know if this is the slappy in me, but if we're really breaking down the game and we're talking about it, one of my bets this Sunday, and I never do this. I never bet on the other team. I might take Mike Evans unders, and I'm a big Mike Evans fan. I think Mike Evans, Hall of Famer, one of the best in the league, top 10 wide receiver consistently. I might take his under. Just based off going up against Carlton Davis, I do think Carlton Davis can lock him down this weekend. And I know that's crazy to say, but just going up against him at practice for years, knowing his weaknesses and going through all of that, I do think there's an opportunity. And especially if his not negatives, but like his pod, like what he's best at is going up against guys like Mike Evans throughout the NFL and his career. This is the matchup that he's waiting for. Like he's like, I'm ready to go on Sunday. So I think they're going to have that matchup, and I think, honestly, AG's going to probably have a good scheme for him. Hey, one-on-one, just let those two guys go at it and let Carlton Davis lock Mike Evans up. I'm pumped to see that. And if you have a pass rush that's getting to Baker, he's going to have have trouble getting the ball to him anyways.
Yeah, I think almost like last week, the key to it is Mike Evans is going to get his targets. He's going to get fed, but just don't get beat deep, because you saw last year, especially late in the first half, they just started force feeding Mike Evans down the field because they knew they had the favorable matchup with Cam Sutton and Kendall Wildor there. Carlton Davis, to your guys' point, knows what to expect with Mike Evans. There should be zero reason for concern as far as him being nervous before the matchup. I think this is something where he's going, Tampa, you traded me. This is a guy I won against every day in practice who made me better. I'm going to make you regret trading me. If he goes out there and can hold Mike Evans to 5 catches for 40 yards, I think that's another situation where you see the Detroit Lions winning this game. If Chris Godwin has 8 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown, Rachaad White has 6 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown, but Mike Evans is limited to 5 catches for 40 yards, you're winning this game. If that's happening, and Mike Evans has 6 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns, Tampa Bay has a much favorable shot at winning that game. So kind of like they did with Cooper Kupp, let him catch the check downs, let him catch the slants, but anything deep, that's when you got to be worried with Mike Evans.
And what do you guys think with Terrion? Because this is a big a big game for him. Those are some elite dudes that he's going up against. I know he had the matchup with Puka and Cooper, but last week, Puka goes down. I feel like this is the week, he got a taste of the NFL and he had those 2 pass interference calls. I feel like it's a week where Terrion, hey, he can go out there and prove himself a little bit, and he can go. Maybe Terrion does get an interception this week where he makes a couple big plays because he feels like one of those guys who, I mean, AG and Dan have said it. He's next play mentality. He makes a bad play. He's let's move on. Feels like it's the same thing for last week. Has a bad week a little bit, a couple mistakes. All right, let's move on. Let's go have a big Sunday now versus the Bucs.
I'll tell you what, Terran Arnold, last week, 2 PIs. You think Baker Mayfield's going to test him? Absolutely.
Sure.
They're gonna test that. They're gonna test that whether he's on, Chris Godwin, whoever he's guarding, Trey Palmer. If he's running with Trey Palmer, Baker's gonna test him, which could be an opportunity for a Terran Arnold pick this week. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there because Matthew did that too, and that's what you should do. You have Carlton Davis or rookie Terran Arnold. You're going to throw at Terran Arnold.
Settle down over there, brother.
That's the realistic approach. Now, you have a guy like Terran who has had success taking the ball away in college. Now, in the NFL, Baker Mayfield, last time he played the Lions, I think he had 2 interceptions. They won on Derek Barnes. So we're used to seeing some guy that we didn't expect to get an interception. Yeah. I think this week, fellas, wouldn't be shocked if you saw I see Mike Reed Sub-Zero. Get your merch, by the way. It's on the website. Beautiful shirt. Get a pick this week. What do you guys think about that?
I don't hate it. I think that's I'm gonna look at. I'll give an interception bet this Sunday. I'll have one ready to go.
You hit last week, Booner.
I did. Kirby Joseph. I hit plus. I think it was plus 500, plus 600. I'm gonna try and think of someone this week. Maybe it is Terrion. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Odds I don't wonder what would the odds be for him. It's got to be something insane.
I almost want to say though Sunday. I almost want to say Brian Branch. Brian Branch was in 2 or 3 spots on Sunday night to where he had a couple diving ones. And it felt like too, and this is just me with Brian Branch, because these guys talk about in the locker room that he's a guy that just keeps getting better and better and keeps learning. That was his first game essentially in that safety position. And he was you could tell he was a half a step behind on some plays. He was diving for the ball and having to knock it down. I feel like he's a guy that's going to slowly learn, and each week that he's going to get that much better in that position. It's only a matter of time before he snipes a couple off. And I feel like this weekend versus Baker shows his hand once, it's over. I'm going to look at
playing safety too. I mean, he'll have more opportunities downfield to get one.
Baker will look human probably 3 or 4 times throughout this game. I think Matthew Stafford looked human for 1, maybe 2. But Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, there's levels of differences there. I think as long as Baker Mayfield doesn't turn into Geno Smith in Ford Field, the Lions are going to be feeling pretty good, because I think those two are pretty – when I talked about the tiers earlier, I think as far as Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith strictly in Seattle, those are 2 guys that bring similar things to the table, and I think they put out similar numbers. And I think Geno's just been a guy who's always been able to get loose in Detroit, find a way to hit players down the field through all 3 levels. If Baker's uncomfortable – could be both Terrion and Brian Branch. Bama boys both get some picks.
And he's fearless. Baker is
that's something when you have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. That's a great thing to have. When you're Baker Mayfield, that's why I think people in Detroit need to appreciate Jared Goff for being so boring, quote unquote, is because he knows his role. Baker Mayfield at times just forgets who he is and tries to be better than what he is.
Defensively, so I don't see interceptions up yet. So maybe that there's sports books that are kind of waiting to see what happens. Maybe with the Kirby Joseph injury, maybe they're waiting a little bit. And with Antoine Winfield out there, the books probably are slow a little. But the two things here, I'm not going to say where I'm on. But Alex Anzalone, tackles and assists, so total tackles over 8.5 is plus 110. That seems like it's easy.
Add that leg to the parlay, Boone.
That seems easy. And then where was it?
Wait, Alexander. Wait, what?
Because just to speak on that a little bit, like nobody, like outside of Ali McNeil, nobody's going to benefit more from DJ Reader than Alex Anzalone. Because if you got to think about like a defensive tackle and a linebacker, like a guard and a running back. If that defensive tackle is able to take on two guys, that makes Alex Anzalone's life so much easier getting in the backfield, being able to see the quarterback, whether it's a run or pass. Everything that Alex Anzalone does, it goes off of what DJ Reader, Ali McNeil does. So that's huge. If DJ Reader's back, Alex Anzalone is clearing 8.5.
So real quick, Alex Anzalone had hit that over 10 times last year.
Yeah, that should be an easy hit. And he had 13
19 games? Wait. Yeah.
I don't think the sports book watch. I don't think the sports books.
Yeah.
I don't think they watch the press conferences because AG yesterday in his press conference said one thing that they do, and this was interesting because remember, a lot of people were like, "Oh, Jack Campbell his name wasn't called a lot." AG was like, "Don't take account into Jack Campbell not being named a lot, and not having a lot of tackles." He was like, "Our defense's scheme and our game plan is to force the ball and force everyone to Alex Anzalone." He was like, "Our game plan is to put Alex Anzalone in as many positions as he can to make tackles." Like that. That's when you think about that, you're like AG's on a different level, being able to force. And I'm sure Klotz, you've played at a higher level, like forcing guys to certain players, so you know the guys you trust. But like that was why he was like Alex Anzalone had 13 tackles and 10 solo, is because our whole game plan was just force everyone to Anzo. Like that's
that
crazy.
Boy doesn't miss. If Alex Anzalone, if you're getting hit by Alex Anzalone, I'd give it like a 5% mortality rate of the people that actually make it through to see the other side and get extra yards. Like Alex Anzalone just flies through people. But it's important to say, like Jack Campbell, I mean, if they're running to the left, both of them are flowing to the left, somebody's got to take on a block. Would you rather have your more sure tackler get it or a young guy, Jack Campbell, who's got a lot of talent? But I still think we would all agree there's some step he needs to take. When you're playing the LA Rams, you want Alex Anzalone tackling Kyron Williams, not the second-year linebacker.
What's that thing called? Like the pain meter? Like where they measure how
the pain index.
Yeah, it's like there's like a measurement. I don't know what it. Maybe the chat can help me well with that. Like getting stabbed versus, you know what I mean? Like as it goes up. I don't know where Anzalone getting hit by Alex.
Getting by a car. Yeah, I was getting hit by like I'd give it like like a Toyota 4Runner. Like getting hit by a Toyota 4Runner, I'd give that Anzo. Because you don't want to say like a F-150 or something. That's probably Hutch. A semi's like DJ Reader, but a 4Runner, Alex Anzalone, like a 2019 4Runner, lifted up, got some rims on there. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Anzo would be like just like a jacked up Jeep, just getting
Hey, same type of thing, Bone. Same type of thing.
Yeah, that would hurt. Well, like when they have like those the bars on the front, that's like getting hit by. Yeah, like Anzo. Just you're like, whoa, like you're definitely dead. I couldn't imagine getting hit by Anzalone. Like I go back to that play versus Gino. You remember when he just came out of nowhere and just flew in and just like he was off screen and like Hutch was like less than 5 yards from Gino, and he's off screen 20 yards and just flies through and gets him. Like Anzo's he's an absolute dog, as Jeff God said in the chat there. I think it's interesting that they AG in them. That's their game plan. And again, I think if you did Klotz a little bit, I think if you did switch the game plan and say, hey, let's get guys. I think Jack Campbell's at a point to where you could trust him. So you have two guys who are like, you have two elite tacklers in your linebacker spot. Like that's big.
And Brian Branch behind him.
Oh my gosh, that's and Terrion and Amik, who like they're not missing tackles. The best thing about all of it with the defensively is Brian Branch running off the field instantly on Sunday night and looking at Dan Campbell and being like, "I will never miss those two tackles again. That's on me." Like that's
like we all believe him too. Like we all believe him. Like we know Brian Branch, and he played a good game. That was probably, and you could say the same thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Samuel Porter. That was probably the worst game you'll see out of Brian Branch in a very, very long time. And he still played good.
And we expect him to step up. I'll tell you guys what, 2 players I expect this week, big time players to step up. I'll go 1 offense, 1 defense, guys that you just need to have a big game. Offensively, I'm going to stick with what I said earlier. Easily, it's got to be Jared Goff. I think you're going to see 250, 275 passing yards from Jared. He's got to take care of the football. He's got to be decisive. He's got to get the ball out quickly because Todd Bowles is going to send the house. And he's got to be accurate like he always is. So I think Jared is and I'm not just saying that because he plays quarterback. I'm saying that more so because of the game plan I think the Bucs will have this week defensively. And I think the Lions offense will be. So that's why I'm going with Jared, not because it's the cop out. He's the quarterback, he's the most important position. I think he actually is the biggest the player you need to absolutely step up. Not that he didn't have his best game, but have a big game, we'll say. Defensively, this week, I said it earlier, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it on the pregame show, and I'm going to say it probably a lot on the watch party. Aleem McNeil, okay? Aleem McNeil, go out there and wreck this game. Go out there, a sack, tackle for loss. Hell, sprinkle in like Salt Bay a forced fumble. All right? Get out there and make some damn plays. Because you know why? You're a free agent. You won't think about this, but your agent's probably thinking about this, going, damn, I hope he has a big year because I want to get that cut of the money. You got to go out there and get 9 to 10 sacks. All right? That's what we expect out of Aleem McNeil. And I think this is how you start. You go out there, make Baker's job it's a good matchup for him. Make his job harder. That interior, they get to be – you're facing – you'll be lining up against their guards, which the guards did not play well last week. But a rookie center, DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil, they got to be licking their chops. This has to be barbecue chicken this week for Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader. So Aleem McNeil is the guy that I believe has to have a massive game. And I think by default, Aiden Hutchinson will be benefited. So I'm going with Jared Goff on offense. Absolutely. Got to go out there and just play at the highest level. And I think he will. But based on last week, how the passing attack looked. And defensively, I'm going with Big Mac. Mac sauce.
I want a Big Mac right now.
Of course you do, Boone.
Slim McNeil.
Boone's hungry.
Klotz, do you want to go next, Klotz?
I can go ahead.
You could go because I had the 2 same as Jeff. I'm going to keep one of them, and I'm going to touch on one of them a little bit more, but I have another one too. Hopefully you don't take my second one, but I had the same 2 as Jeff, but I'll let you go first here.
All right. Well, I'll do this. I know we were speaking on Amon-Ra St. Brown earlier, but who have I been saying all week, boys? Be holding that offensive MVP. Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy that needs to step up this week, I think, more than anybody, both because of what he can do on the ground and through the air, and what he does specifically against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last year, it was only 1 game, but Tampa Bay, when they played in the playoffs, was much healthier defensively than when they played him in week 5, I believe it was. And in that game, on 13 touches, he had 114 yards and 1 touchdown and stiff-armed Antoine Winfield into the pylon. He's going to be the guy that I think between this running back duo, which is what this Detroit Lions offense is built on, the running game, is a guy that I think has the most opportunity to succeed. If you get Jahmyr Gibbs going, I think that makes everybody on that defense just completely uncomfortable, and that's when the offense really opens up. Amon-Ra St. Brown, very, very important to get going just because he needs it. He's a number 1 wide receiver, but I said it all year long, all offseason long, I should say. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the best offensive player on this team. When you're going up against a defense like that, you need him to step up. So Jahmyr Gibbs is my guy on offense that needs to step up. And defensively, the guy we just got done talking about, Alex Anzalone. I just think because how impactful he is both in the run and the pass game, DJ Reader coming back, the weakness of that interior offensive line, and also the ability to shake up Baker. I think Alex Anzalone in coverage is incredibly underrated. Obviously, guys like Aiden Hutchinson. We talked about Carlton Davis. Very important. When you talk about the guy who lights his defense's fire, I think it's Alex Anzalone. He steps up, makes Baker uncomfortable. He wears that green dot. He sets the tone. You saw it last week. When he's going, this defense just is a different type of animal. Alex Anzalone, Jahmyr Gibbs, my 2 players.
Love that. Hey, Klotzy. Hey, love that. That was good. I love those 2 guys. That was great. Now, this is where I'm going with this because I had the 2 exact same ones as Jeff. I will say the one that I'm going to keep because I think this is the most important one for the game on Sunday. And I know I said establish the run. Guess what? I think that's a big key. But the reason I say establishes the run is so this guy can play his best football of his career, and he can go on and he can keep putting up MVP performances. That's Jared effing Goff. What's his middle name? I don't know.
Thomas.
What is Jared Thomas Goff? What is Jared Thomas Goff good at, guys? One of the best in the league at
Play action.
play action. And what do you need for play action? Establish the run. Go out there, establish the run, and set Jared Goff up to be successful, to get Amon-Ra St. Brown the ball, Sam Laporta the ball, Jahmyr Gibbs the ball, J-Mo, set this man up. We need Jared Goff. It's not more so just to win this game, but to me, it's more so to get this guy going. Get your MVP, get your QB1, get these guys going, or get this guy going for the season. Like, you need him to get this momentum up and rolling, so this team's rolling at a high level. I think Jared Goff is the biggest success to that, and he will be the biggest piece for the Lions to go win a Super Bowl. So you got, I already said Jared Goff MVP. I'm sticking with it. It starts Sunday. Last week he struggled a little bit, and he knew it too. He came out all week, and he took questions, faced it head on, and said, hey, this is on me. I looked bad. I played bad. I made bad calls, bad reads. That's on me. Now, defensively, I was going to say Aleem McNeil. I think getting to the quarterback's important. But when I talked about one of the biggest keys to winning this football game, it's in the secondary. And I think there's one guy in particular who's going to have a big week this weekend. And on Sunday night, he's our best player in the secondary. And outside of Aiden Hutchinson, you could argue this is the best player on the entire defense. That's Brian Branch. We've already spoken about Brian Branch. I want to almost guarantee that Brian Branch gets a turnover on Sunday night or on Sunday. I think this guy is going to go out there, and I just took him one game just to get a little bit of a feel in that safety position. He was so good at nickel. He was so good in the slot. And you know what? He was instantly versus the Chiefs. He knew what he was like. He made impacts instantly. I think last week having a tougher game, Klotz, to your point, he did have a good game, but there were some times where you could tell he was off his game a little bit. He was trying to get settled in, trying to figure this thing out. Again, the 2 missed tackles, a couple interceptions where he was just probably a half a step behind, which usually you don't see Brian Branch a half a step behind. You usually see him a step ahead. And I think this week you're going to see Brian Branch a step ahead of Baker Mayfield, and he is going to dominate that secondary. I wouldn't be shocked. This man's going to be out there. He's not going to miss tackles, and he's going to force turnovers. He's going to be a problem back there. And especially Kirby Joseph is questionable. If Kirby doesn't play, Brian Branch, that even means more. Hey, you got to step up a little bit more here. You're that duo back there, especially too, if he's out, it's going to be a big Sunday for Brian Branch. I think he's going to be the biggest playmaker on that defense, maybe outside of Aleem McNeil.
I want to add this.
The honey branch of Boone.
I want to add this to your Goff take there, because I know we've talked a lot about the MVP stuff. Last week, I do think what helps him is half the league struggled. Like, that's just the facts. I mean, even guys like Joe Burrow did not. I mean, a lot of guys struggled. I think half the league didn't pass for over 200 yards. So I would even say like last week hurt him, because it's like everyone was hurt except for the guys that had big weeks. Like, I mean, they definitely helped. But I think this week against a team that right now has the lead for their division, and a team that'll be a playoff team, in a game where Goff will be counted on, in a game where Goff is expected to put up numbers, this honestly, Boone, to what you were saying earlier for the MVP stuff, this is a good start this week. If he goes out there and rips off almost 300 passing yards, 3 TDs, no picks, I mean, it's a pretty good statement. And I mean, I know it's not on Sunday Night Football. Usually those are the good times to go off and have those games, but it's still against a good team. Like, this would be the week, based on how everything's lining up with how I expect them to throw the ball, and with Jared, with that MVP combo. I know I didn't see eye to eye with you with it, but I think for your narrative, if he goes out there and balls out, Boone, it's a good start for that. I think
Boone, real quick, can I say something to chime in?
Yeah.
Because you might love it, but you might hate it at the same time. I don't think there's any way that boy Jared's going to touch Josh Allen in the MVP race. That boy Josh Allen, I know I was preaching about Mahomes, but I understand James Cook went off last night.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I know James Cook went off, but if that team's winning with James Cook like that, and they just have to have Josh Allen at some games, like that game kept Josh Allen healthy. I bet on his over on his rushing yards. He had 3 rushing yards. Like, that's good for Josh Allen. If you're able to be a division opponent like that. So I'm still, as of right now, sticking to my Jets winning the AFC East, but those Bills look good, Boone. They look good, even with injuries. They're dropping like flies. That's what I'm interested in. How long can they keep it up? But right now, they look damn good, Boone.
Before I had the Jared Goff thing, the Bills, I'm not going to take a victory lap just because they're 2-0 and because Josh Allen's playing well. If you go look at their schedule, they have, I think, in my opinion, if you pulled up any schedule in the NFL, I would argue, have the toughest, and this isn't a joke, and I'll pull it up real quick. They have the toughest schedule in the NFL. They play the Jags next week, then the Ravens, then the Texans, then the Jets, and then they get the Titans, Seahawks, and then they play the Dolphins again. Then they go on the road to the Colts, then play the Chiefs, then the 49ers, then the Rams, then the Lions, and then they end the season with the Jets again, and then the Patriots twice. Like, they play like the top 10 teams.
Gauntlet, bro. So, if they win their division, Booner, like, I didn't even know that was their schedule. I don't care what Patrick Mahomes does. I do not care. I don't care if Jared Goff throws for 5,500 fucking yards. If they win that division with the injuries they're going through right now, with the lack of playmaking, it should be a unanimous MVP.
That schedule is insane.
That's why I felt the way I felt. Now, I didn't expect Boone. They look good, but that schedule was defense.
We talked about it off the air yesterday. Jeff were talking about their defense. Like, the secondary, that was what I was trying to say earlier in the offseason, was like they lost a lot of secondary guys, but they kept just enough, and they have enough young guys to step up and be like, hey, we feel comfortable with these young guys coming up. And they look tough. They
do, but the thing is, like, then they lost Benford last night, but they still were like fucking tough. Like, their next man, like they lost both their middle linebacker or both their linebackers, and it's just one of the. But if you watch those two guys play last night, I can't remember both their names. The rookie out of Clemson, I can't remember where the other one is from. Flying around the field, bro. Like,
got guys that want to play.
Like,
dude, that Lions Bills game is gonna be good.
It's gonna be a great game.
It's gonna be a great game.
With the Jared Goff thing, to your point, though, Jeff, is the Jared Goff kind of MVP. Like, you were right. Like, outside of maybe Josh Allen, to your point, Klotz, there wasn't really big performances last week. And a lot of people last week, as wild as it is, there were so many tweets and people online talking about Baker Mayfield MVP conversation, like, after week one. And that was like, what are we doing here? But it's just because he threw for 4 touchdowns and he had almost 300 yards, and everyone's like, oh, that was the best performance of week one. Yeah, so that's like that was the thing. So, like, there's no, maybe outside of the Josh Allen, there's no, like, clear coming out of week one MVP guy. And if Jared Goff goes in there and Sunday throws for 350, 4 touchdowns, or even 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards, and they win by 2 touchdowns versus this team, the NFL and the AP voters are going to be like, okay, here we go. And if he keeps putting back-to-back, the next week go to the Cardinals and have a big game. Then you play the Seahawks at home, have a big game, have the bye week, and then go win in Dallas with another big game, 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. Then they're going to start saying, okay, there's something going on with Jared Goff and the Lions. We need to have those conversations.
Because I don't know about you boys, but, like, walking out of, like, Sunday night, I thought there was going to be much more negative, like, hype about the Lions. Like, oh, look at how depleted this Rams offensive line was. Look at how Puka left the game early, the injuries they had on the defensive side. But I feel like everyone, at least national media-wise, is like, that was a very good win for the Lions. So to add on to that, Booner, like, I think there was, like, no one was really talking about how Goff played poorly for Goff standards. You know what I mean? So if he goes out there and he's able to put up that 300-yard game, I think you're correct. Outside of, I think, Josh Allen right now and possibly Brock Purdy, the way that he played against the Jets, and then
he played good.
Keeps winning without Christian McCaffrey, I think that's going to build a whole type of different narrative around Brock Purdy potentially. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But Brock Purdy, Jared Goff in very similar situations, and will be battling out for the NFC. And like you said, Booner, week 17 could be a potentially huge game for both teams. If there's not a clear front runner, that's a big game for MVP standards. So
that would be nuts. Like, if Goff goes out there, they get the 1 seed, and that would be unbelievable.
Jalen Hurts, I don't see Jalen Hurts making a run. I think Saquon is going to be very good, but I'm just trying to think of the guys like in the NFC that could, because I feel like it usually comes down to like who's the guy in the AFC, who's the guy in the NFC. Like there's always those 2 front runners. Obviously last year was different, but even then it was Lamar and Purdy.
Jordan Love going down for a couple of weeks. Jordan, I thought he would kind of be in that equation of like best quarterbacks in the NFC. He's
got to be able to keep up at least Stroud production. Goff does, because I think
which last year he did. Like, and I know
Stroud. Well, he outperformed Stroud.
Yeah, so
like in every category. Yeah,
I think there was that conversation to where if he does, I think like, and I know week one it's such a bad, and it is early for MVP conversations, but if he gets just a little more than he did last year, because there were like, I had the conversations on Woodward Nights where, hey, if he goes into Dallas and wins that game and he puts up numbers, he's probably in that conversation, and that's with he is like again.
No, I'm
like,
not at you, but I'm the Dak comments.
Oh, the Dak stuff, yeah, because like there were only like 6 or 7 players left on the sports books for MVP odds, and Jared Goff was one of them going into that Dallas game. So it's like he doesn't have to like have a crazy like that much bigger of a year than last year. They just need to have the 1 seed, and he needs to have the year like he did last year to be in that conversation. And if he has a better year, then that's like, oh, he might actually be able to win this thing. Like that's how it get like that's crazy to think.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, the NFC and how it is. I know the Dak thing. He is right. Like the media is gonna find a way to gobble Dak. And then JT Olsen, Baker MVP odds are still great value. His production is what he say. His production is sustainable. MVP. Yeah. Well, I mean, shake and bake. I mean, we'll see what he does if he beats the Lions. I'll tell you what, that'll help his MVP. But if he loses, that's gonna hurt a little bit.
I want to like Baker so bad, but I think what ruins it for me is like the Baker fans, where they act like Baker is like the number, like he is truly like a number 1 pick type of talent. Like he's a guy that can lead any team to a Super Bowl.
I'll say this: Browns miss him.
I will say, Klotz, I'm a little opposite of you to where the thing I don't like about Baker Mayfield is the people who don't give him enough credit because he's Baker Mayfield.
This is the credit I give him then. Tell me if I'm off on this. I think that he's a guy that if you were to drop in the top 25% of the league can go and win you playoff games, potentially 2. You drop him in like a team that's bottom 75%, like you give him like a tough division to play in. I think that's where he folds. Like I think that was the thing that kind of hurt him in Cleveland. Cleveland was very good, but they weren't the best team in that division, and they wanted to move off of something and get something better. But didn't it almost be like the Lions trading Jared Goff? Like the Lions have never had a continuously good quarterback that could win games. Obviously, different situation, but Cleveland quarterback play wise, like at least Matthew Stafford put up some years. Cleveland never had a quarterback that could win anything, and they finally did with Baker. And then they trade him for Deshaun Watson, try to risk it all. Like Baker was a very good quarterback in Cleveland. I think Baker is a very good quarterback. I think he can play some weeks like a top 10 quarterback, but I don't think he is a top 10 quarterback. Like I don't think he should ever be in that conversation. Well, you got to win.
No, right on the outside, I would say like if he's playing at his best, right on the outside. I just like if you put Baker in Cleveland now, like they're continuing to contend consistently year after year.
Yeah,
like, that's a fact. So like them leaving, like I'm pretty sure they won the division when he was there for a year, and they won the home playoff game. I could be wrong; it might have been a road, but I like they were doing that. If they have him like this year, like you're like legit talking about them winning the division and competing for the division versus the Ravens. Like, and I truly believe that. So that's agree. Where to me a little bit. I think there's a lot of teams you could put Baker on, and he brings those teams up. So like, I think it's more teams than people think. I just like the disrespect of Baker when he got let go of Cleveland, and people were like, he's not going to land anywhere. And then he goes to Tampa, that no one thought was going to do anything with Baker, and he goes and wins that division when, again, they probably were like the 3rd best odds last year to do it, and they went and did it. And it's the same thing this year to where they're right now have the 3rd best odds to win it, and they probably win their division. And it's like it's consistent with Baker. And I mean, they signed him to a 3-year deal. They did something that the Browns didn't do, and they let go of him. Yeah, and they said we're rolling with Baker for the next 3 years, and they're going to win the division multiple times the next 3 years, and they're going to be in the playoffs contending if they keep growing that defense and keep that offense together. So like that's where like I hate the Baker slander a little bit. I hate it more than the people overreacting, because I don't ever see Baker Mayfield on top 10 lists. I never do. Like at least legit.
No, because he shouldn't be. But there, you know, those people that are like, Baker's a top 10 quarterback. Like he's that.
Yeah,
guy.
I think that's
he's
just
leading
slappy.
Tampa to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think that's like slappy though, right?
That's fair, but I think he kind of has a cult following. Baker does. Like people that aren't Tampa fans, like kind of go crazy for Baker. Some,
Yeah,
not a lot.
His contract, one of the most, in terms of value, one of the best contracts in the league. I mean, it's like $30 million for Baker. Like, dude, I mean, you got Tua making what? No, I'm bad timing, by the way. Hope he's okay. But
Tough.
you have that caliber of player making that, and Baker's making like 30. Give me Baker at 30. I mean, that is insane. I was just checking real quick because we're gonna move on. I want to get our final score predictions. So I was just getting mine already.
What you guys?
We'll do final score predictions. Quick little summary. How you think the game's gonna go? Final score prediction, and then we'll get into some college football, and then around the NFL. Go give our pick'ems. We got Booner's bet. So I'll start with this. Okay, my final score prediction this week. Lions got to win. Can't drop to 1-1. I think this game is going to go how I said it's going to go, and I've said it multiple times all show. Heavy volume in terms of passing the football. They're going to run it. They're not going to abandon the run, but I think Jared's going to have a game. I think he's going to have a game. 250, 275, maybe even 300 yards, couple TDs. Hopefully, no turnovers at all. Lions offense gets back on track in their passing game. Defensively, they get after Baker, make his job hard. Maybe they're probably going to get an interception or two, preferably. I think that comes from Baker trying to test the rookie Terran Arnold. Knowing Todd Bowles, he's going to send some creative blitzes at Jared. I think Jared's going to there's going to be some times where he takes some shots downfield, maybe Jameson Williams. It's going to be, I think, one of those games where this offense just starts clicking once again, at least through the air. I got the Lions winning this game, guys. I got the Lions winning 31-17. 31-17. Lions win. Yeah, they win decisively. I think they cover. And I think their offense at least gets back to that's their offense. A top 5, top 3, some would say best offense in the National Football League. And I just think Baker playing from behind, he's going to turn the ball over a little bit. Maybe they clear 20, but the Lions are going to score 30. And the Bucs trying to get into a shootout with the Lions, I don't think it's going to go well for them. So that's my final score, 31-17. You know what? 31-20. I'll give them 20. 31-20. Lions win and cover.
All right. So, Boone, I think there's something here you might like because it's definitely going to favor a narrative of yours. I have the Lions scoring 4 touchdowns. I think Amon-Ra gets 1. I think Sam Laporta gets 1. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs gets 2. So that's 4 touchdowns. I think they get a field goal as well from Jake Bates. But I also, Boone, think that we see Jack Fox, as he does ever so elegantly almost every week out there, every Sunday, he's going to drop a punt inside the 1 or 2 yard line. And Ennis Rakestraw overran one last week, batted in the end zone. He's going to get it like the 1. And we're going to see a man named Aiden Hutchinson come around the edge, beat Tristan Wirfs, and get a safety on Baker Mayfield. So I have the Lions putting up 33 points. I have the Buccaneers scoring 3 times. I think Chris Godwin gets 2, and I have Rachaad White sneaking in there, kind of a late type of touchdown, and I think they get a field goal. So I have Lions 33, and the Buccaneers 27. I think they win by 5, but I think Tampa finds a way to get Mike Evans going, but I think Chris Godwin in the end zone, he's going to find it at least twice. Red zone, I mean.
Yep.
Wow, hey, the safety in Aiden Hutchinson.
I think it's going to happen, dude.
It's one of my favorite things when we do shows every year and when we do score predictions and someone predicts a safety. It's a thrilling thing because all game you're sitting there and you're like, is this going to happen?
Gutsy.
And I think
gutsy.
It is. And I think too, and before I go, I do want to pull this up. I think you can bet on a safety for the Lions. And I think, Klotz, you should do it because let me pull it up. I
might have to, Boone.
Detroit Lions to score a safety plus 2,000. That's a big hit if you get that. That's a big hit. Aiden Hutchinson safety.
Baker last time they were in the red zone backed up. Derek Barnes interception. He's going to be worried about that. The noise is going to be rocking. Here comes Hutch. Defensive player of the year candidate, Boone.
I'm a fan of that narrative there. I'm going to do this though, fellas. I feel like and one of my favorite things to do is do score predictions. I felt like last year I was always right, spot on, right there. People say, hey, Booner, do you have the script? I do have the script. They email it to me once a week. I know what's happening every week. And I purposely, sometimes I pick games wrong just so you guys know I don't have them. Don't know if that's true, but that sounded really good.
Narrative's out now.
Yeah, that sounded unbelievable when I started saying that. No, this is what I'm going to do. I think the Detroit Lions, guys, I think this is a week that the Detroit Lions just continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. I think they hold this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team to 20 points or less. I think they step up and they just keep figuring this thing out. AG is going to start kind of getting a feel for the weapons and the talent he has on this defense. And then I think on the other side of the ball, and I truly believe this, I think, and I know you're going up against a great defensive mind over on the other side in Tampa Bay. But I just think this offense finally gets something going here this week. I think last week was like an enigma. You don't know what happened. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, like the Lions offense, they still found a way to win, but the offense didn't look like it did last year. I think it starts clicking here. The stars show up. Jared Goff, D-Mont, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Laporta, those guys show up. The big names that you had last year that were all pro players, those are the guys you're going to see show up on Sunday. And I think this Lions team goes up and puts up a ton of points. I'm going the Detroit Lions 31 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20. I think and when it happens.
Hey, same score prediction, Boone.
Did you have the same one? 31-20?
I did. Let's go.
There we go. Hey, you have the script too. 31-20. The Detroit Lions win. Ford Field for a second straight week is going to be absolutely rocking. The season will start off 2-0 at Ford Field. Listen, I don't think the Lions lose at Ford Field this year. I think it's too big of a home field environment. I don't think anyone's going to be able to come into Ford Field and disrupt everything that the Lions have going on here. It is going to be too tough. Shout out if you're in the chat right now. Shout out to you if you go to the game. Be loud. Make sure that Baker Mayfield hears you and dominate that game. I think this defense back-to-back weeks. What did the Rams have last week? 20? Was it 20?
20.
Back-to-back weeks holding to a team in the NFL to 20, I think is a big deal. Like 18 to 20 is like that's essentially I think top 15 is my guess. So I'm going 31-20 Detroit Lions, baby. Take the spread, take the over, love it. I don't know what the over is, but take the spread.
Yeah, I don't know what the over is either. I think the Lions clear 30. I know that offensively. Now the Bucs, yes, whether they keep it close or not, that's their prerogative. But the Lions are going to score 30 this week.
It's 51.
I know they scored 30 against them in the playoffs. Didn't score 30 in Tampa. But I think this offense, especially with Amon-Ra in the game he had, that dude's pissed off. I think they bounce back and get over 30 points this week. You guys want to get to we'll go around the NFL, give our pick'ems, then we'll get to college football.
Honestly, my favorite segment of the week, boys. I love NFL pick'em.
I do have to one thing I have to do, and this is on me. The chat can be like, "Come on, Booner!" Like, I have to go back and get all the records from last week. I haven't been able to, and what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna work on this over the next week. I'm gonna get a graphic of all of our faces on it and our records through the season. So I do not have the records from week 1, but I can just easily go back and get our picks, write down the records, and I can do that every week, and we can update the graphic. By the way, too, Kansas State, Arizona, this is crazy. Kansas State is up 14-7. They had the ball with like 10 seconds left at like the 20-something yard line. It was like 3rd and 10, and they let the clock keep running, and they tried to get one more play to the end zone and then call timeout and kick a field goal. Avery Johnson just was scrambling around and let the clock run out instead of throwing the ball away and getting the field goal. He just ran. Huge. He tried to run out of bounds, and he had no clue what the clock was at and ran out of bounds, and there was no time left on the clock. That was crazy. That was nuts. All right, let's do NFL pick'em. Let's get some music rolling here. I want the people in the chat. We have a lot of good games this week. A lot of good games, a lot of close games, a lot of spreads under 5, under 6. So I think I have about 9 games here. We're not going to do the Lions game because we just gave out our score predictions. So you can see our spreads on that. Obviously, we think they're going to cover. Let's start it off, though. Once the music gets rolling here, the Cleveland Browns, and Deshaun Watson, don't even know if he's playing after everything that's going on, but he's going into Jacksonville, the Jaguars. The Jags are 3-point favorites, fellas. Who are you guys rolling with in this game? In Jacksonville, the Browns versus the Jags.
Give me the Jags, dude.
Oh, that's disgusting.
You know what they're about to do this week, Klotzy? Last week, you know what happened? ETN fumble in the I think it was the fumble in the red zone. They should have beat the Dolphins. They didn't. This week, they bounced back. Deshaun Watson forgot how to play quarterback. He forgot.
He stinks. Defense is pretty good, though. But give me the Jags. They bounce back. They were doing some weird things last week. I think they bounce back, get back in the race for their division. So give me the Jags. What's the line?
-3.
Give me they cover that.
So confident in your Jags. So confident. Some would say he was doing tricks on it. I'm going with the Browns. I think they got smacked in the mouth at home. I think everyone's going to go with the easy pick here. I think it's the easy pick to go with the Jaguars. When you look at that defensive front for Cleveland, and I understand that Deshaun Watson's playing bad, but I think Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle in this game. I think that defense is going to just be too much. I think Cleveland's going to find a way to keep it on the ground because Jacksonville's defense, yikes. Outside of Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, yikes. And I think that they have playmakers on it, and I think they try to simple it down for Deshaun, keep it on the ground, and it's going to be a gritty game. But Jacksonville is not built to play from behind, and it looks like they're not built to play with the lead either against that Miami team. So
guys drinking.
I'm more comfortable in a Browns back game from the Browns and the Jags.
Wow, Klotz. Are you
sure? On Haterade? I mean, this is keep going, Boone. You're good.
Are you sure, Klotzy?
No.
All right.
No.
Hey,
I respect that. I respect that.
I had to try to sell something there. I hate both these teams with a
He's
passion.
rolling with Ohio.
It's better for the Colts if the Jags lose. So
Klotz, again, if it makes you feel better, I'm taking the Browns too. I said the Jags in that division. Hey, there's something about week 2 bounce back games. I have a lot of teams I'm picking this week, and it's just based off
that man bouncing back.
I don't really care about that, man. I think that defense is going to be in this game, and I think they're not going to get blown out for a second week. I think this defense is like I think Jim Schwartz is still there, correct?
Oh yeah,
he's not letting the back-to-back weeks.
Of the year.
Yeah, so I think they're going to bounce back. Second game. This one's an interesting one. Christian McCaffrey is listed as out and actually might get put on the IR. But San Francisco 49ers head into Minnesota. The San Francisco 49ers are 5.5-point favorites. Who are you guys taking? What do you guys think?
I mean, Vikings. Hey, I was cute. Sam Darnold 12 and Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I got confidence in my quarterback. This dude's about to be. He's gonna look like Davis Mills this week. I mean, that's what he's gonna do. All respect. He's gonna look like Nate Peterman. Actually, Nate Peterman. That's and if you guys remember Nate Peterman, that's rough. And I know he's facing. Hey, you got a little bit of that similar offensive philosophy. Kevin O'Connell, West Coast offense, Kyle Shanahan, Sam Darnold, familiarity with doesn't matter. Fred Warner's going to make this man's life a living hell. The way he played last week, Fred Warner, Hall of Famer. Give me the 49ers. I don't even give a shit what the line is. You could have told me 17.5. I would say they're going to cover. So give me the 49ers and give me them to cover. Sorry, Sam Darnold, sprinkling some picks. He's going to get 2 this week.
Sam Darnold's going to be running for his life. Colin Cowherd. It's going to be a rough day for Colin, I think, on Sunday. Give me the Niners. It doesn't matter who they have in their backfield, to your point, Jeff. Doesn't matter what the line is. Give me the Niners by at least 10. Aaron Jones there, I understand that he sliced up that defense last year, but it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, simply put.
Yeah, I'm taking the 49ers. This 49ers team, what they did last year, they're unbelievable. They're very good. And I think it's the Lions and the 49ers in the NFC. Give me the 49ers. So it's 49ers across the board.
Yep.
Wow. Here we go, boys. How about that? 49ers across the board. I love it. Next game, Seattle Seahawks at New England. This is an ugly game, I think.
No Kenneth Walker, it looks like.
Yeah, and then the Patriots, Seahawks -3.5 though. Who are you guys going? Seahawks -3.5. Patriots underdogs. Where are you guys going? Home dogs.
Yeah, this I like the Patriots story. They're 1-0, beat the Bengals. They're on it high. They're on it high. You know, it's awesome. And Jacoby Brissett, he is solid. I want to pick the Patriots. I want to be that guy. I do. I really do. I want to say Patriots are going to win and upset another team and go 2-0. Because I did the Cardinals thing last week. I picked them to cover and win. They didn't win. They covered, though. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks win this week. I just think, man, the New England, It can't go 2-0, right? Like they just can't. I don't know. They just can't. There's no way, no how. And with that secondary, none of those receivers are getting open. So give me the Seahawks.
This is tough. What do I want to do here? Do I take the first-year defensive head coach for Seattle or New England? The team at home? No Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. This is going to be like a 9-6 game. I think Seattle wins, but New England, they do cover.
Yeah, give me the Patriots, fellas. At home dogs. I love
home dogs.
Love a good home dog. I don't know if they're going to win. Love a home dog, though. Going to Gillette as an underdog. Hey, give me the Patriots as underdogs. Was it Jacoby Brissett? Is he still playing this week?
Yeah.
I love Jacoby Brissett.
Better hope Joe Milton don't get in.
Hey, whoever it is, Drake May. Don't let Drake May get in. I mean, hey,
no, Milton over May.
Give me the Patriots plus 3.5.
I can't believe you're going there, Boone. I knew you'd go. I knew you'd go there.
I like the spread too. I like the spread.
Patriots 2-0. I'm just gonna look at that division and go 2-0.
Right, boys. Let's keep this thing rolling here. I need to lock the boys in. Colts -3 on the road at Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love questionable. Probably won't play, but the Colts. I think the Colts being favored by 3 shows that Jordan Love is not going to play. Who are you guys taking?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be Jordan Love. So give me the Colts. I mean, Klotz, if you can't beat this team, I wouldn't even show up Monday. I mean, they have to beat the Patriots here. There's no doubt, and I think they should cover. Like, I don't think this should be a 1 point, 2 point, 3 point win. This has to be a touchdown, 10-point win. I mean, it's Malik freaking Willis. So give me the Colts and the cover.
Jonathan Taylor over. Anthony Richard, anytime touchdown. Adonai Mitchell, anytime touchdown. Take the Colts. Take them in a bloodbath. Malik Willis is going to be an absolute chokehold. This defense on Indy is familiar with Malik Willis. He's most likely going to be starting, and there's just going to be no flow in that offense. I think Colts defense is also going to have a game. This game's going to get ugly, and it could be quick. Give me the Colts to win and cover.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts as well. Honestly, with the Colts is there's no way Malik Willis does anything in this football game. He might throw for 100 yards and 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions against this Colts defense. Give me the Colts -3. That's one of the easier bets of the weekend. I'll give me the Colts. Next game, the Jets -3 at the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to stay away from this game because I have my best bets, and this game involves my best bets. So I will stay away. I'll let you two. The Jets, though, are on the road in Tennessee, 3-point favorites. Who you guys taking? Or 3.5-point favorites. Who you guys taking?
They're covering and they're winning. All right. They're coming after that division. See, the Bills are 2-0 now. Jets, rough week 1. Aaron Rodgers taking some ayahuasca, reset. Come out this week and cover and just put a beat down on the Tennessee Titans. Give me the Jets. Give me them to cover as well.
I've never seen a quarterback in my life fall to his knees because of how bad of a play he made, like Will Levis did last weekend. Look, I think Will Levis could be a solid quarterback, but forever, that will be what you remember about Will Levis. He's going up against a very good defense, potentially just right on track, as good as the Bears, and going up against a Hall of Fame quarterback. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers isn't Aaron Rodgers anymore, but look at how bad offensively that Chicago was, and they still found a way to win the game. There's no way, no way in hell Will Levis beats Aaron Rodgers. I have the Jets winning and covering. There's no way. No way.
Next game, Los Angeles Rams at. What's going on? What am I missing?
I'm sorry, but I'm just laughing at that Will Levis play. Like, it genuinely just makes me laugh.
All right, Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are 1.5-point favorites. It's a weird because the Rams have all these injuries, and the Cardinals played the whole Bills situation last week, the good half, the bad half. But they are favored at home by 1.5. Who are you guys taking in this game? Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford?
This one's hard. This is tough. Give me the Rams. I think the Rams, and they're underdogs in this game, and I think that's right where you like them. All right, because all the injuries, Matthew Stafford, they're stitching together an offensive line.
Okay, stitching together an offensive line. I think the Rams bounce back, move to 1-1. Give me the Rams to beat the Cardinals. Cardinals fall to 0-2.
Yeah, I'm right on with you. If you watch the Rams, I know they are dealing with all those injuries, but they were just about to beat the Detroit Lions if they had the ball in that overtime period, I think. So when you look at that, going up against a team that I think can sneak up on people with the Cardinals, but that's a divisional opponent. I don't think there's any sneaking up on them. Give me the Rams. I think they win and cover, but it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Both Rams.
Lock in, Boone.
Yeah,
I'm trying to write these down. I have a list on my notepad here. I'm trying to stay locked in, and it's hard right now.
Yes, Rams. Both
Minus 1.5. Plus 1.5. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna go opposite of you. I'm gonna fade you guys here a little bit. Give me the home team by 1.5. It's basically a pick 'em game. I think the Cardinals they got to get Marvin Harrison involved somehow. I like James Conner. Hey, give me the Cardinals minus 1.5. I love it. I don't know why, but it's a weird game, but I love it. Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 5.5. This is a weird game. Joe Burrow bounce back game, maybe. I don't know, but Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs minus 5.5 point favorites. You guys take it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I've been a big Joe Burrow defender, if you will, and I'm with you, Klotz. I'm sorry, he stinks. Like, he stinks right now. I don't know why. Maybe he's not healthy. Maybe he's not healthy. Yeah, no. God bless you, and God bless Joe Burrow. I mean, he's going to need everything. He's going to need a higher power this week. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs to win, and I think the Bengals could cover, but give me the Kansas City Chiefs at home.
that's cute. Boone said it. Bounce back game. Kansas City Chiefs win, but Bengals cover. Bengals will cover.
Yeah, it's not it. The Chiefs are going to win this game by a touchdown or more. I don't see Kansas City. They're absolute. They're one of the best team, second best team in football. Sorry, I almost said the best. They're unbelievable. Lions are still the best team in football. I can't change that take there. I'm not backtracking. I'm not that guy. Won't do it. Not that guy, pal. Not me. Two more games. Steelers minus 2.5 at the Broncos. I'll just get mine real quick. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers win this game by a touchdown going into Denver. I know Denver, they Bo Nix, all day. Welcome to welcome to the league. Here's TJ Watt for you. Welcome to the league. Here's Mike Tomlin. Welcome to the league, Bo Nix. Give me the Steelers minus 2.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think the Broncos keep this close. But give me the Steelers. I think that defense is going to be too much for Bo Nix. It's in his second career game.
You need to let that Broncos love that you have with Sean Payton. You just got to let it go. It's no good for you. It's not healthy to hang on to because you know what? Pittsburgh's defense is going to have a game, and so is Justin Fields. Like I think Justin Fields is going to have a game on the ground. I think George Pickens is going to get fed. I think if he was getting the ball against A.J. Terrell, I understand Patrick Surtain's there. They're going to find a way. Like Justin Fields, he's just too hard to contain for, I think, the Denver defense, and he's going to find George Pickens a couple of times. So I think Justin Fields locks up that starting spot for the rest of the season too.
All right, final game. I'm going to stay away from this because it's on my best bets for the weekend. The Chicago Bears Sunday Night Football on the road versus the Houston Texans. Texans are 6.5 point favorites, basically, essentially a field goal. Who are you guys taking in this matchup?
Texans.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's atrocious.
Yeah, I think the Texans are, and this is the thing: D'Amico Ryans, Matt Eberflus. They're going to have their little defensive chess match. Two good defenses. I think Caleb Williams, he bounces back. Like he has a better game because he's bouncing back from essentially ground zero. He didn't play well. He didn't look comfortable. I think he bounces back, but give me the Texans. You kidding me? What's the line? Sorry, Boone. I think they cover whatever it is, to be honest with you. No way the defense is going to score 14 points. Yeah, I think the Texans win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a bloodbath because the Houston Texans are coming off some easy win. Either they're going up against a very gritty, hard-fought win over my Colts. Going up against the Bears, I don't think there's anything to slouch at, but I just think there's too much. Like when you look at this Bears secondary, like it's good, but it's not good enough to cover all three of these guys. And CJ Stroud's not going to be turning the ball over. I think Caleb Williams will probably 2 or 3 times. This game's going to be ugly, I think, especially like maybe the first half is close. Second half gets going. Houston starts to take away. And I think they win and they cover.
All right, boys. That's it. I can't give mine on that game because it's in my best bets. So
They're gonna knock the paint off his nails.
Hey,
Jeff.
Boone, you want to get right to your bets? We'll throw them up.
yeah, I mean, if we want to, throw them up there.
Yeah.
I'll go through them. If you guys didn't know, last week I did my best bets for the week. We went 4-1. The only one we lost was the Michigan Wolverines plus 7.5. So that was the only one that we ended up losing. Here are the best bets though for this weekend. With 4-1 last weekend. First one. This is a wild one. Maybe people are like, Booner, what are you doing betting South Carolina? I don't care. Versus LSU, South Carolina at home. Tough place to play, boys. Tough place to play. Very tough. But I like the South Carolina team. What they did last week, they did beat Kentucky on the road, and Kentucky's not like great, but I think they beat them like 30-6 and dominated them. But just taking South Carolina at home, Shane Beamer, absolute dog of a head coach, great head coach. Anytime that they're at home, I'm taking the Gamecocks. Anytime they're at home, I don't care if it's versus LSU. We saw LSU lose in week 1. I'm pretty sure. Who was that week 1 matchup again, guys? You guys remember? Why am I drawing a blank? USC lose to Big Ten. Shout out to Big Ten. Give me South Carolina plus 6 though over LSU. Next game. This is why I said, hey, I can't comment on those games. Can't do it. Cannot do it. Because the Houston Texans are going to beat the Chicago Bears by 3 touchdowns. Minus 6.5 is the easiest play of all time. Listen, the Chicago Bears, they do have a decent defense. Defense is pretty good, right? Right, fellas? Yes. But offensively, Keenan Allen, I'm pretty sure he's been out all week at practice. Roma Dunze has missed practice. He's got this weird like knee or leg injury. Don't know what's going on. They're saying, hey, he might play. Don't care. If Caleb Williams struggled the way he did last week, I promise you, welcome to the NFL this weekend, buddy, because you're going on the road to one of the best teams in football, a great environment in Houston. They are going to go in there and they are going to get mopped up the floor, and they are going to lose by 3 touchdowns. I guarantee you that. So take the minus 6.5. It's easy money, free money from me. You're welcome. Next one, Jeff, I'm spot on with what you said. The New York Jets minus 3.5. This is about everyone's probably going to be on the Titans at home underdog after Aaron Rodgers had a bad game. They're like, oh, what's going on with the Jets? This is like the perfect setup for a bounce back game here. There's no way the Jets have what they have going on and they don't bounce back versus a team like the Tennessee Titans on the road or not. This is like, hey, you have to bounce back or there's going to be a lot of questions because I don't know. I'm going to figure it out after this week because a lot of teams are going to go 0-2. And there's that stat of when you start 0-2, you're essentially gone, done. Season's over. Get out of here. Probably not making the playoffs. So this is a massive game for the New York Jets. I think they have a chance to win this game by a touchdown down the stretch. Now, this is where the real things start here. And I'm going to have more plays on Sunday for the Detroit Lions game. Legacy player, more straight plays, and Booner's lay of the day, which almost hit last week. It was just the Amon-Ra St. Brown thing really killed us. But I'm rolling this week. The 2 Lions plays I have in my best bets of the weekend is David Montgomery over 56.5 rushing yards. Guys, this feels really low. He gets 60 yards easily a game. And if Dan Campbell's going into the press conferences saying we want to establish the run, guess who they established the run with?
Who?
David Montgomery. D-Mon. You establish the run with your bell cow back. He's going to get 15 carries. And I promise you, hold on, let me do some math real quick. Where's my phone at? Maybe you guys can do some math too, just quick in your head. What's 57 divided by 15? 3.8 yards per carry. That is easy for a guy like David Montgomery behind the best offensive line in the NFL. Last bet, you guys heard my score prediction, 31-20. The Detroit Lions team total over 29.5. It is like minus 120, the easiest bet of the weekend. This team goes out there. They're going to put absolutely numbers up. 4 touchdowns like Klotz, he says, maybe a field goal or 2 with Jake Bates, and they're going to dominate this Bucs team. Take the over on the team total, 29.5. It might be at 30.5 depending on the sports book. Move it down. Get it to minus 120. Just go down to 29.5. I guarantee you that one's another lock. This right here, I look at this guy's last week and went 4-1. This is a 5-0 week.
Wow.
Telling you right now. This is a 5-0 week. Tell me where it loses. Don't know where. Jesse Adams might try and be the smartest man in the room. And I could have said LSU minus 6. Jesse Adams would have said no, South Carolina. That's how I know I've got someone absolutely wrapped around my finger. Give me South Carolina plus 6. Houston Texans. We're going into Houston, and we're going to dominate the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. The Jets minus 3. D-Mont and the Detroit Lions team total, baby. We're locked in. There we go. I love the music up a little bit. How about that?
Yeah, well,
Hey,
Boone,
Boone.
I like it. I will say, and I'm asking you, the professional. I don't see Michigan on this.
Yeah, you know what? I'm tired of the Michigan stuff too. How about that?
I mean,
Boone.
it seemed like the
about
offensive concerns I brought to your attention are even worse than I thought they were, Boone. That's how it seems.
Hey, Boone, transparent. Like this is me just checking in on where you're at. I know it's only 2 weeks into the season. Where do you think Michigan lies as far as making it in the college football playoff now?
Honestly, transparency.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I just want to. I'm not gonna judge.
Trust circle.
Yeah,
Trust circle. This is like, hey, look at this, like a little therapy session with the boys.
yeah. I know I'm an Ohio State fan, but I'll put it to the side for right now.
There's zero chance that they make the college football playoffs. 0.0. I can't see it happen. This is like, all right, we haven't talked about this all week. I wanted to talk about it Monday. It's been a packed week for the boys. This is, Klotzy, you will never have this feeling in your life because even when Ohio State is bad, they're at least coherent and they know that you need to keep you need to have a quarterback, you need to have a roster, and you need to continue to work in the portal, the transfer portal, recruits. They will go out and get ahead. I know Ryan Day sucks. He was able to step in and keep the thing rolling at least. Sharon Moore has no clue what he's doing. He has zero. When I saw that they didn't have a contract for the guy, right? They don't have I was like, please just don't give him a contract. And then a day later, guess what they do? Oh, he's got a contract now. What are we doing? Legit. What is Michigan football doing? It's the most embarrassing thing in college football right now is what's happening with Michigan football. Literally the most embarrassing product that you could put on the field. Everything about the whole program, the quarterback situation, the only positive part is the defense. That's it. And even then, you went and got Wink Martindale, who couldn't even hold a job in the NFL. You went. It's as embarrassing of a situation that's going on there. You couldn't find a quarterback. If you have a quarterback battle and you're coming off a national championship, go get someone. I don't care if they're people are like, oh, how do you know someone didn't want to come to Michigan? No one might. Someone would have came to Michigan. Someone, anyone besides Alex Orji, right? Anyone. And Davis Warren, honestly, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around. It's the most embarrassing thing of all time, going from what you did last year, winning a national championship, to now and not being it. Go out and get a real head coach. Honestly, go out and get someone that's done it and has proven. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of the fact that they didn't go get someone that's not proven in the NFL. What did Alabama do with Nick Saban?
Kalen DeBoer.
Kalen DeBoer. They went and got someone who just was there. Why could you not do that? It's unbelievable. What did Washington do when they lost Kalen DeBoer? They went and got Jed Fish, who was at Arizona, and put together a great team in Arizona.
Yep.
And what does Michigan do? Hey, what about this guy named Sharon Moore, who's never built the program, who's never done anything? The only thing he's done is taken over for a team that was already built and won a game, which I probably could have stepped in versus Ohio State and coached that team to win. They were that much better. I could have. It's unbelievable, dude. They'll be lucky to win 8 games this year. They'll be lucky to win 8 games. That's not a joke.
I'll say this, and my biggest concern is a week-to-week basis. There's going to be a disadvantage at coaching every week.
Oh, every week.
Most weeks, especially USC, no way. Lincoln Riley's going to coach circles around him, and then quarterback competition's not close. Miller Moss, Davis Warren.
He brought this program back to relevancy, and then he leaves, and the day later, it's gone. It's just gone.
Well, that's
not Ward Manuel. Ward Manuel should be gone, too. If you can't get a competent head coach in there that could build a freaking program, how do you not go out and get someone who's built the program? How? It's unbelievable to me. Every other big-time team is – you could have went and got Chip Kelly, for all I care.
That is so
anyone.
Because Chip likes to run that ball, Boone.
You could have got anyone. And you said, hey, let's go Sharon Moore, who stepped in. It's unbelievable. And they just don't. And they just don't. Hey, the portal's not existent. Go get weapons and go get a quarterback. tell me no one would have want to transfer to Michigan, a team that just came off a national championship. It's unbelievable to me, dude. It's the most embarrassing thing of all time. The whole all be embarrassed. All right, we just won a national championship. Should be embarrassed. We're gonna win 8 games, go 8-4, and play in the Turbo Tax Bowl.
Not the Turbo Tax Bowl. Not that. Oh no,
the Turbo Tax Bowl, dude. The worst thing that could have happened.
And you know what? Well, one more thing too. And shout out Xavier D. I do like Xavier D. But like this, it's like, oh boy, Michigan fans sure know how to flip it around, and they were guaranteed to play. Like, listen, all right, Xavier D. Guess what? You guys want us to be honest. We're being honest. You guys are like. That's the one thing I hate about sometimes being being honest with people. It's like you're finally honest. You're like, hey, guys, you were right. We were wrong. We thought maybe the roster constructed and they had some idea and they were competent enough to realize they needed a quarterback. And maybe if there was a guy in the building that he was good enough, and obviously not. We're admitting we were like, I'm sitting here being like, yeah, I was wrong. And now you're going to turn around, Xavier D, and be like, oh, look at these Michigan. Shut up. Like, quit being like, look at these Michigan fans. Look at these Michigan. This is honesty here. This is being real.
Yeah.
I could easily just sit back. I could easily sit back and be like, yeah, no, they're going to – Klotz, hey, college football playoff team, they're still going to win 10 games. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
No, yeah.
This is a bad football team. Quit trying to switch narratives.
Yeah.
Accountability.
I respect
Xavier D, you be accountable and you start staying to your word, huh? How about that?
How about it, Boone? Hey, I respect it, Boone. I'm happy you took the stance that you did. I was gonna cook you, but there's no ever need to be taking victory laps when you're just admitting that you're wrong. So I respect it, Boone. Being a true Michigan man, but I think we can both agree Ohio State's winning that Big Ten too, Boone. They're winning it.
Yeah, Oregon ain't, dude.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know who honestly makes me more
Georgia
nervous than
wins
Oregon as of right now? No. Big Ten, I'm saying.
Oh, Big Ten. Yeah.
Low key, Nebraska. Because when we talk about head coaching, like Matt Rule, I think is
good.
Matt Rule honestly could be the best coach in the Big Ten as of right now, as far as proving what they've done, track record. Like, he's never won a natty, but that man knows how to rebuild a program. So I think, and I like Raiola a lot too. Defensively, they're nice. Running back, they got a good running game. They're a gritty football team. So they're a team that could potentially get a little bit of like rushing yards on Ohio State. Matt Rule does little tricks. Like, if Oregon keeps playing how they are, like, they just look weak. Like, they don't look like a physical football team. Nebraska's a physical football team.
I will say this, though, Klotz. I do think, like, Nebraska's going to win the games they're supposed to. And I just think, like, those – because they're young – it feels like they're a younger team still with Raiola. So I do think, like, with Dylan Raiola, like, it's – when he does play the Ohio States, it's going to be a good game. I just think there's no way he wins those games.
No, I don't think they'll win anything, but I think if there's, like, a team, like, if you had to play 1 week – like, if they had to play him like week 10, which one would make me more nervous? Like, obviously, going into Eugene's tough. But, like, if you had to host one of those games, like going into Ohio State, like, which team would make me very nervous? Nebraska. Like, Penn State, like, no. But I think Nebraska could sneak up on a lot of people. Like, if they're clicking, which I think with Matt Rule, it could very well happen consistently. Like, they're a team that can get hot real quick.
Matt Rule's a great coach. I mean, I see Jesse saying I said Sherrod Moore would be a great coach. I don't know what show you're watching.
I don't think, to be honest, too, I don't think any of us said that Moore's going to be a great coach.
No,
well, that was never a
conversation. You called him an offensive wizard down there.
Yeah, my situation with Sherrod Moore was that on my end was like, dude, the program's built for you. It's like literally like, it got handed to you on a silver platter. Like, that was my whole thing all offseason. It was like, they should be able to go 10-2 if you can coach. Like, that's all. And he wasn't able to figure out the quarterback situation. Like, the two main things, all he had to do, make sure you have a quarterback and make sure you can coach. 0-2. There was never a Sherrod Moore's going to be
even the run game, man. Like, you'd think he'd be able to at least like get a run game going.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I brought it up to you, Boone. I said 3 to 4 losses, and now it's definitely 4 at the minimum.
Yeah,
that was before the season. Like, that was my take. I thought they would lose to Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, and USC. Now, I mean, hell, they might sprinkle off another.
I would be so happy, and you know what? I would be like, if they somehow, some way only have 3 losses and they beat USC somehow, like that would be like best case scenario for this season.
Okay. Hold on.
Best
Jesse was saying I was saying that about Prime. I absolutely.
Yeah, that's a
have been saying that
disaster
so
in Colorado.
Yeah, I saw. Hey, that I'll admit to. I've been high on Prime. I've been high on Colorado. So I mean, yeah, no doubt. But yeah, that was embarrassing. I mean, they have a game this week against Colorado State. If they don't win this fucking game,
I think they might lose every game the rest of the season. To be honest,
Do they ever fire? Do they ever fire Deion?
I don't.
Can
I
you
think he
fire
steps
him?
down.
yes, Booner's spot on. Yeah,
I think they sit him down and be like, "Dude, we have."
I don't know if it's this week, but like it will be the start of like getting to that point of him being like, maybe I'm just not, because it's hard, man. You got to recruit. Like you're at Colorado, you're not. You're already in a kind of you're already fighting an uphill battle. It's just
sure.
He
has put himself in a tough position. I do think he is a football mind and a coach. He's like, when he was at Jackson State, like he was a really good coach. Like I think he got to Colorado, and maybe it's just me, but the things he's doing and like
Power 5.
Yeah, and like he's like telling people like he's not being like great to players, like get out of my program, this, that, like instead of helping players and growing, like there is the trend. Yeah, like I'm not saying like fully, but I'm just saying like coming in and being like, you're out of my program. And then even guys like there's guys who leave that program after year one and they're like, I don't know, like what's going on there is crazy. Like there is a sense of where you do have to build a program. You could still get the transfer portal guys and get the 5 stars. Dude, you just have to build a program and a culture. And it seems like that is like what's missing. That at least to me. Well, and it shouldn't. Like he's been able to build that up before. Like that's why he'll like I don't even know what happens if he gets fired there. Like does he get another job somewhere? Like who's going to be like, yeah, let's bring Prime in, and let maybe a team that needs numbers and money.
I would like to see him like at a big time school, preferably like
bringing him to Ann Arbor, Boone.
Bring him to Ann Arbor. Dude. I don't know if I want.
The recruits would go crazy.
Like I would
they
love
would,
but
like
at like Auburn or like Florida, like somewhere where it's like a bigger program that where it'd be a little easier to recruit. But yeah, I mean, he has not looked
through Florida.
Yeah, or something. I'm just
Florida State.
Right. FSU would be the obvious, but they're not getting rid. I mean, that's even though it looks bad.
Hey, no, he might get fired at Florida State.
Yeah, no, really.
Florida State's bad.
Yeah, but man, he was like, I mean, the last 2 seasons. I don't know. You never know with college football. But hey,
I don't.
What were you gonna say, Ben?
I would say I don't think Florida State will hire him. I think they had like they had butted heads at one point after he left there.
Probably. Well, got a lot of football this weekend, guys. Tune in Sunday pregame show, watch party,
11 a.m.
The Kool-Aid.
This is where you want to be. Here, Crunch Time Sports. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Stay blessed. If you're going to the Lions game, have a fucking blast, man. And if you're not, tune into the stream because you can hang out with the fellas. Until then, take care. We'll catch you. See you. Get your